Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Englewood. This is the City Council meeting. We're in the Municipal Court Building. It is December 19th, 2023, and just a minute, it is 7:36 in the evening. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Yancy, will you please read the statement regarding the Open Public Meetings Act?
This meeting is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Law. Notice of this meeting was included in a notice sent to the Record and the Star Ledger and advertised in said newspapers on January 10th, 2023, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and has remained continuously posted as the required notices under the statute. Excuse me. A copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. Proper notice having been given, the municipal clerk is directed to include the statement in the minutes of this meeting.
Thank you, Yancy. Roll call.
Councilman Cobb's on his way. Councilman Rosenzweig?
Present.
Just a reminder to everybody, green light means on. Councilman Wilson?
Present.
Councilwoman Wasatski?
Present.
Council President Marin?
Present.
Also present is Mayor Michael Wilds, City Manager Robert S. Hoffman, City Attorney Bill Bailey, CFO Michael Kaufman, and City Engineer Franz Volsi.
And HR Director.
Oh, and also present is our HR Director, Alexis Waiters,
Okay,
and our
thank
Fire
you.
Chief, Jeff Kaplan. Sorry, well, get that.
Okay. We are opening our meeting with the swearing in of probationary firefighter Mike Gallego. He is a graduate of Dwight Morrow High School and a current Englewood resident. He recently was honorably discharged from the United States Air Force, where he served as an aerospace medical technician. Mike was able to take the fire exam shortly after leaving the Air Force, being hired late last year. He came to us already certified as an emergency medical technician through the Air Force. He is already attending the Bergen County Fire Academy, where he is doing well academically and nearing completion of Firefighter 1. Could you please come forward, Mr. Gallego? Mayor Michael Wilds will do the swearing in.
Mom, Dad? Current girlfriend? This is a very special treat for the city of Englewood. It's actually going to be the last meeting that our Council President Judith Marin presides over, and I think it's very appropriate that we're swearing in new folk to keep us safe and protected under your watchful eye and your good work. The gentleman served our military, and now he serves our city. I can't thank you enough for that extraordinary moment and now career that you're building out in our fair city. Lives in Tenafly Road, hails from Columbia, where they called him Mike by accident with an A. But they left it the way it was because of respect for culture, and we appreciate that you're here today. This is a very inspiring moment for all of us, particularly our fire department. There is also a very special person that we mourn the loss, and it was a Lieutenant Stimper, who had passed away, had a heart attack in the line of duty this month, many years ago. I would just ask that we just have a moment of silence for the good lieutenant. He's shining down, looking at us, knowing that the department continues and that your exemplary service, not just to our nation, but to our city, commences now. We wish you Godspeed and a very safe tour of duty. Would you like your parents to hold the Bible? Where's Nancy? Okay, thank you. All right, come forward if you don't mind. If you don't mind, right hand up. Put the left hand on the Bible. Left hand. Thank you. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Mike Gallego,
Do hereby swear
do hereby swear
that I will support the Constitution
I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear
and I would bear
true faith
true faith
and allegiance to the same,
and allegiance to the same
and to the governments
and to the governments
established
established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state,
under the authority
under the authority
of the people
of the people
of the city of Englewood.
of the city of Englewood.
Further,
Further,
I do swear
I do swear
that I will faithfully,
that I would faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
justly perform
all the duties
all the duties
of the position of
of the position of
Englewood probationary firefighter
Englewood probationary firefighter
according to the best of my ability.
according to my best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Our fire chief of department will now make a presentation to the young probationary officer. Congratulations. Not too bad, right?
Yeah.
You want to say a few words?
I want to say, everybody, thank you for coming. This is a great moment for me. I'm super grateful to work here in the city of Englewood, a place where I went to middle school, high school. I'm super happy for having my parents, for the way they raised me, and the people that are in my life. I just want to be here, and I want to help the people of Englewood, and I'm super blessed for this opportunity. So thank you, everybody. And my grandma, and my girlfriend, and everybody else who's here, I greatly appreciate it. I love you guys all. I love the city. I've been here all my life, and I wish to be here all my life as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. You don't want it for the firefighter? No. Okay.
I don't know exactly how we're going to do this, so this is a special presentation. Yancy, would you like to read? It's Resolution 383-12-19-23.
This is a resolution honoring 3rd Ward Councilwoman Judith Marin.
Thank you, Yancy.
Can I do the honor of reading the resolution aloud?
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that opportunity. Oh, do we have to have a motion first? So moved. Okay.
Thank you.
So whereas Judith Marin has diligently, tirelessly, and proudly served the residents of the city of Englewood, currently as 3rd Ward Councilwoman for 3 years, also serving as President and Vice President, or President Pro Tem of the Council, and whereas Judith Marin, a 56-year resident of Englewood, has a strong belief in community service, that belief is demonstrated through her involvement in a range of organizations that make a difference. And whereas Judith Marin received a BA in psychology from Brooklyn College and attended Harvard College for special courses, she began her professional career as an elementary school teacher in New York City, where she taught in the gifted and talented programs and as music and art specialist. She served as office manager of David Lloyd Marin Architect and joined the ASID to provide interior design services to the practice's clients. Judith later joined the executive staff of Project Renewal as Director of Operations, where she served for 22 years. And whereas during her time in Englewood, Judith Marin has been a volunteer for many organizations. She was a tester for Fair Housing of Bergen County, member of the Title VII Advisory Board, board member of the League of Women Voters serving as local education chairman, board member of Temple Sinai as editor of the Sinai Century, trustee and president of the Englewood Board of Education, as well as its negotiation chairman, executive board member serving as development chair of Flat Rock Brook Nature Center, executive board member serving as philanthropy chair of the Women's Club of Englewood, and whereas based on her leadership and vision to secure vacant parcels of land to serve as flood prevention buffers, Judith's initiative resulted in the city's commitment to purchase 47 Brook Avenue to serve as flood mitigation for the surrounding area. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Englewood, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, that Judith Marin be accorded by the passage of this resolution the profound gratitude of the city and its citizens for distinguished service to the cause of a better and greater Englewood.
Thank you.
And if I can add some of my own words there, because we came on the council together with a Zoom meeting, and certainly I've always admired your integrity and commitment to Englewood, and I'll sorely miss that. And your tenure as council president this year, some things the budget came in again at under 2%, which is great and a great accomplishment. But hopefully we'll do that again this year. But there's some things that I think, and you passed 31 ordinances, which has been the most in a decade. I thought I was hot stuff last year with 23, so you got a touchdown more than me there. But I think a lot of your accomplishments will be things that the community appreciates probably for the rest of this century. So certainly 47 Brook Avenue is really the first city property probably in 50 years that's been purchased by the city specifically for flood mitigation. We've talked about how there's a new normal, which means we need new strategies, and you were the champion of that. And the effects of that will outlast everyone who's in this room tonight. Also, you saved the city from overdevelopment through Builder's Remedy with a very difficult year in getting the affordable housing across the finish line. And I think that's something that probably not the rest of the century, but probably just a couple of decades. So, so your impact will last for many, many years. It's been an honor serving with you, and I wish you all the best.
I'm sorry, my mic was off, but thank you so much.
Ms. Marin, if I may just add my 2 cents in gratitude on behalf of the entire city also for not only your service, but the service of your dear husband, a dean on the Board of Adjustment, your daughter who joins us this evening. Are there any other relatives here, if I may ask?
It's the front row.
Granddaughters, the whole
We have a row.
the whole mishpacha, the whole family's here, and that's wonderful. I think the good councilman really artfully articulated the impact that some of these ordinances will have on our city. It was a true privilege to work with Judith. She was in it for the right reasons, and like everybody else that's assembled here, loves this city with her whole heart. It'll be hard to match the time and the commitment, and imagine coming on in Zoom and then actually playing a major role with her husband in moving an entire house from the Kesher Synagogue to the Eleanor Harvey Park. And that was a little big thing that was done in the middle of all this. Thank you for joining all of our sessions with the Coffee with the Mayor and lending in your 2 cents, for agreeing and disagreeing as a gentle lady of the First Order, always sharing your thoughts, your opinions, changing our minds. We wish you Godspeed, and we hope that you'll figure out someplace where you want to volunteer, because a person who has a nice big fat paragraph like this and a resolution generally doesn't stop cold turkey, and there's always going to be room for you in this great city. So thank you on behalf of all the residents and our families too.
Thank you very much, Michael. I was going to save what I was going to say until later, but I think it might be appropriate to give some words right now. This is a very bittersweet time for me. Tonight, I end my term as Third Ward Councilwoman. I'm very proud of all that has been accomplished during my time as a member of the council. What seemed to some as a council comprised of members who did not agree often has, in reality, been a council that, after discussion, disagreement, and compromise, produced a very significant body of ordinances and resolutions. I would like to thank my colleagues, Ken Rosenzweig, Charles Cobb, Lisa Wisotsky, Kevin Wilson, and Michael Cohen, who I served with during my first year on the council, and Mayor Michael Wiles, for all of their work and their generosity in sharing their knowledge with me. Looking back, I take great pride in being part of the council that selected our city manager, Robert Hoffman, our police chief, Thomas Greeley, our deputy police chief, Matt De La Rosa, our fire chief, Jeff Kaplan, and our HR department head, Alexis Waiters. We also created the job of deputy city manager and selected John Berkner to fill this position. These positions are the key positions in our city, and I am very secure, in my opinion, that they are a team that will serve Englewood very well. We will all reap the benefits of their talents for many years to come. We have dealt with many difficult situations. I joined the council as its only female member during the COVID epidemic. Our council meetings were held on Zoom and created a situation where we were forced to reach out to our constituents whenever possible to solve local issues. Not being able to meet face-to-face can be difficult and does not make it easy to bond with our neighbors. The council was suddenly faced with the aftermath of Hurricane Ida. Our new city manager was confronted with the problem of dealing with substantial damage due to the storm. His quick action, alongside our DPW and Mr. Ed Roy Jenkins, drew up plans to alleviate situations that contributed to these problems. They were successful for the most part and have led to substantial outside funding to help deal with the destruction caused by the storm. I found myself thinking about what could we do to help eliminate conditions that contributed to flooding. I began to consider the possibility of purchasing flood-prone properties to use for flood containment. Mr. Hoffman contacted engineers from several universities to help create programs for using these properties. With the support of the council, all of this has been accomplished. I eventually became involved in the acquisition of a property that was ideal for catch basins, and I believe we will be awarded funding to help us implement a creative plan. When the plan is completed, Englewood will serve as the model to be followed by many other cities in New Jersey. I have suggested to the council that an advisory committee be formed reporting to the council that will examine city-owned property to develop into parks and gardens throughout the city. This will work to alleviate flooding and provide Englewood residents with wonderful areas throughout the town. I would love to be part of this advisory committee. Using these properties that we already own would be a win-win situation. The affordable housing litigation was very difficult to reconcile. After many hours of study and meeting with our planning consultants, we were successful in phase 3 of this lawsuit. We avoided being placed in a situation where we had to grant builder's remedy, which would have placed us at the mercy of developers who, with this in place, be able to function without abiding by our current building code. We must encourage our planning board to select their planning consultant and begin to review and revise our current master plan. Our new master plan must contain chapters covering flooding and affordable housing so that our residents have an opportunity to have their opinions reflected. The group that is now bringing our council to court to overthrow our plan, which has already been accepted, is only wasting time and our city's money. I hope those citizens that believe this will be a positive mood will re-examine this and see that they should look forward, not backward, and stop costing the city money responding to this lawsuit. I cannot end my recall of accomplishments without mentioning the traffic lights at West Hudson Avenue and Knickerbocker Road. This intersection has been the location of numerous actions throughout the years. When I realized that this was the only Knickerbocker intersection that lacked a traffic light in the center of the intersection, I immediately began to contact people who could do something about it. Lo and behold, we have it now. I know many accidents will be avoided because of this. Thank you to Franz Volse and Bob Hoffman for the paving program which was instituted. Many of our streets have been paved that have been there for many years have been ignored. I'm delighted to be part of the council that served during a time of fiscal success. Our tax rate, as Ken said, has remained under the cap of 2%, and we have revised our debt service to result in several $100,000 in savings. We have been successful in grant acquisitions and awards by both county and state. Our council has supported Robert Hoffman in facilitating this accomplishment. I have been consistently impressed by the competence and creativeness of our Englewood employees. Since I cannot name them all, please know that you are sincerely appreciated by me. I will miss many of the people that I have had the pleasure of working with. I have learned a great deal from you. Thank you all very much. Do I call? Okay. We have a motion, so could roll call
For the
for the resolution?
Councilman Cobb?
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatski?
Yes.
Council President Marin?
Yes.
We have presentations.
Oh, who's going to do it? I don't know.
If I could ask our state senator to step forward to make a presentation to you, Ms. Marin.
Oh,
Mr. Johnson.
Hi, guys. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to be back in this room again. It's been a while since I've been in here on the dais, but we're here tonight to recognize Miss Marin, Judy Marin, and I'm here on behalf of the New Jersey State Senate and New Jersey State Assembly, recognizing you for what you've done. I would go over the list, but I think Ken Rosenzweig covered it already, so we won't do that again. So when an individual chooses to become a public servant, to work for their community, and to come to the meetings, and to try to resolve issues, and also have a vision to look forward to make that community better for the future, and that's what you have done, your dedication and tenacity. So from the state legislature, I have this resolution, and we have a photo op here. So thank you for what you've done for the city.
thank you, Gordon.
You live 2 blocks from me, but that's okay.
I'll come visit.
I like the traffic light, by the way. So thank you for what you've done,
Thank
and
you, Gordon, very much.
we'll be in touch, as you said. You're not going anywhere. You'll be
No,
around.
I'm not.
Okay.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone. Gallego, Senor Gallego.
Judith, if you don't mind, just wait here. I think we should all come down. There's another
Yeah.
presentation
So,
of the resolution and the plaque.
congratulations to you, young man. A long time ago, probably before you were born, I raised my hand and I was a police officer here in England for 25 years. So working here as a public servant is rewarding, it's fun, it's hard work sometimes, but it's a great career. So congratulations to you. And I'm sure we will appreciate it, we the people of the city of Englewood. So thank you for your dedication. Air Force though, huh? That was Army, but we'll still talk. But congratulations again. Ooh. Yeah, you have a microphone.
Presented by the City of Englewood to Judith Marin, in grateful appreciation for your many years of outstanding dedication and service to the citizens of the City of Englewood. Your distinguished tenure as Council President and Third Ward Councilwoman has exemplified the true meaning of public service, commitment, and leadership. A big thank you, December 19, 2023. Congratulations.
Okay, we'll now have a 5-minute recess, so anyone who would like to leave, you're all welcome to stay.
And refreshments in the back.
And there are refreshments in the back of the room. With the approval of the minutes, we're at Resolution 384-12-19-23. This is a resolution accepting the minutes. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Would anyone have any comments on the minutes? Okay, Yancy, roll call.
Councilman Kopp?
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, these are for the older ones, prior.
I have to abstain. I have to take that back. Sorry.
Councilwoman Wasatski?
I abstain.
Council President Marin?
Yes. Okay. Okay, we now move on to bills and claims. This is Resolution 385-12-19-23. This is the approval
So
of bills and claims. Do we have a motion?
So I move this, but I'm asking to remove 8 items to vote on separately.
Can we wait for a second to your motion? Okay. Okay, you want to, could you please,
Yeah, starting on page 5, they all start with 23 dash, so 23-02334, which is mad science, 02405, which is graffiti, 02439, which is the film initiative, 03095, mad science, 03419, mad science, 02182, murder mystery, 01953, Mad Science, 03419, Mad Science. And so you've seconded that?
What were the last two? Yes, I What were the last two?
Oh, they're on page 6, 01953, 03419, both Mad Science.
okay, so basically what we have here is minus those 8 items, we have bills and claims. Anyone else have any comments on the bills and claims? Minus those 8?
items. And I think that that's the way it should go.
Could you please repeat that, Charles?
What I'm saying is, pulling items, we should just discuss the items as we go through them. Same thing, we resolve it right there and have the same conversation. Because one department, we're looking at one department, and who's going to explain that to us? Mr. Hoffman? Mr. Kaufman? Who's going to explain it? I don't know.
Bob, could you explain those items, or
Well,
should we?
I'll tell you why I asked to have them pulled. Because I really just don't understand them, and I can't vote for something that I don't understand. These all regard the after-school program, and, you know, we have an enormous number of workers at the after-school program, and now we're bringing in more than $20,000 of outside specialists. So what happens on the days that those specialists come in? Do we have fewer employees? Or are the employees just sitting around? Do the employees not show up and still get paid? What's the oversight going on there? $20,000 is a lot of money. We had a constituent earlier this year say the bathrooms weren't cleaned, and her daughter had to change in a porta potty because she couldn't get into the bathroom. And we were told that we did not have enough money to clean the bathrooms in the rec department, but we're spending $20,000 on mad scientists. I really just don't understand this, and I can't vote for something I don't understand. I'm not here to not pay vendors, but we got to sort this out before we just throw $20,000 at people. Did these people show up? Have they had any interactions with some of the issues with the after-school program? We need to have all these questions answered before we proceed, and I can't in good conscience vote for this. This is no individuals, these are companies, and we need to speak to them and see what they're doing and what their interactions are. So that's why I've asked to have these pulled.
And I believe at this point, there was a motion and a second, and so after discussion, that's what the vote is for.
Does anyone else have any question or comment about the bills list minus, or the 8 items that are being, we're asked to pull from the bills list? Kevin?
Good evening, council, constituents, Madam Chair. Are these items services rendered, right?
Michael, are these
Yes.
services rendered?
Yes, they already happened.
Okay, so it seems like we're revisiting a situation where, as opposed to getting ahead of this and we take a hard look at it prior to, that we have the services already rendered, and now we're discussing the fees. And I can understand some of it, of why we would pull it and why we would discuss it. But I think in order to be fair, that moving forward, Madam Chair, that we need to look at things prior to it coming on the bills and claims, if in fact we do have problems with it.
Does anyone else want to,
And I would just point out, for example, on Mad Science, there are 2 $3,160 charges. Do you see that?
It is not a duplicate.
Okay, because I asked that question in advance. I said, why are we being billed the same? So we actually paid them then $3,160 twice?
Yes.
Wow.
None of the bills for Mad Science here are duplicates. It's for different times of the year.
We got another bill, $1,760 from Mad Science, labeled January through March of 2023.
Yes.
Why are we getting a bill in December for a January through March bill?
They sent them all together, and this is when the finance department received them, so.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So I got a question. If in fact that we have outstanding bills, it could behoove the council to receive this information, even though it may not have been submitted, so we get an opportunity to take a look at it and possibly dispute the upcoming bills. You know, if we knew back in March that we had such an astronomical bill, that may have raised an eyebrow or two.
Yeah, we try to tell the departments to, I mean, the New Jersey law is you have to enter the requisitions in, the purchase orders in before their services are rendered. I mean,
So we're not doing that?
yeah, exactly. We keep reiterating that to the departments.
Is that not part of our contract? Isn't that like stipulated already?
That's
that-
the state law.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm just checking.
yeah. And, we've told the departments, we've had classes for the departments.
Excuse me.
No, no.
So we have several departments that issue bills after the services have
Yes.
been... Well, is there any, what happens when they do this? We just go ahead and pay their bills?
Yeah, and we get an audit comment at the end of the year.
So that's.
Well,
the government's
don't you
problem.
think we should have, there should be some negative consequence if these departments are not following procedure?
Yes.
Has any council, to your recollection, ever proposed any consequence for
No.
not following procedures?
No. I'll tell you also, before I started working, in Englewood, I was an auditor, so I used to go to different municipalities. And it's not an excuse, but almost every municipality had the same problem. It's not an excuse, but I'm just,
No, I appreciate the
Yeah.
information, but since I'm not going to be here, I would hope that our council would consider this, and as you say, it appears in the auditor's report every year,
in the
and the
audit, yeah.
council is stuck with having to pay bills for, where the services have been rendered, so we could be in default, which is ridiculous.
I think there's a solution for this. I mean, the solution for this is that when we do our budget proceedings in the winter, that we have a list of all the programs that is scheduled to take place and what the costs are, and the council reviews this in advance of putting it in the budget. Or, I mean, we didn't actually approve this last year in the budget on a line-by-line item. We just gave an amount for recreation, and this is why we run into this problem. So going forward in the budget proceeding, my expectation, and I think I've sent this to Mr. Hoffman and Mr. Kaufman, my expectation is that when we do the budget for all of the departments that have programs, is I would like to see a list of those programs in advance, and I'd like to see the cost for these programs, so we do have this discussion in advance. And by the way, and Councilman Rosenzweig, you were mistaken. We're not talking about $20,000 here. We're talking about a lot more than $20,000.
All right, do we have any other comments?
Well, I have some other questions about this, but what's interesting? This is month 12, and now people are talking about the bills and claims. The reality of it is that this is nothing compared to some of the items that are on here that we should really be questioning. And the other thing is, during the budget process, line by line, that's not what the council does. We budget to the departments, and that's what Mr. Hoffman does. That's his job, to manage that and oversight that. So we have to decide what we're going to do. Are we going to micromanage, or are we just going to manage?
But
But the bottom line is that these services, as Councilman Wilson said, have been rendered already. So we're going to have to pay them. And if you're so concerned about that, then that's a whole nother thing. Let's talk about process. Then if there's a process that's broken, let's fix the process. Because let's get to the root cause of why this is happening. And then look at the process. Because we'll be back in, and as I recall, the last council meeting, we had the conversation about something similar to this. And then we come out, and it's the same department. But nobody's asking about, for example, how come Millennium Strategies has two entries of $4,000 each? When they used to charge us $3,250, now it looks like they increased whatever it is. I don't know. But I'd be more concerned about that, because we have them on a retainer. So what is that?
Excuse me, did you say Millennium? Are you talking
Millennium
about
Strategy,
Millennium?
that's right.
Yeah, I think they were
On page 2.
35. They-
Yeah, it's 4,000.
No, but I'm just saying, they went from
They went
35.
from 3250, now it's all the way to 4,000. And we got 2 entries with them for 4,000 for Millennium Strategies.
Also, when we do the budget process and we go through the lines, let's say we give after school, 200,000, I'm just giving any amount. We give after school program $100,000. I mean, it's the department heads usually the discretion what to use that $100,000 for.
Because, and I get it, because what happens is, for example, with the rec, it's how many kids sign up for a particular program. If you don't get enough, you don't have that particular program, right? So that goes based on how many kids are participating in that. So I think that we don't have a choice but to pay these bills. And if people pay more attention to it, and if they got questions with the process, so be it. Let's have that conversation.
Well, perhaps that's the issue
I think that
here.
that's the conversation. If you're concerned about it, let's look at the process,
Well,
let's
perhaps-
understand what it is. And if it's an audit finding, and it's a repeated audit finding, then that's a whole nother story that has to be dealt with.
Purchasing prior.
So that's something else, and we should have that conversation during the budget hearing, if that's an audit finding, and how we resolved it. If we don't put in the right controls, then people should be held accountable for that. That's what should happen if this is where it's at. At this point, this conversation here is moot in terms of this bills and claims right now, because we can't hold it up, we can't carry it over to the next year. This is the last meeting of the year.
If I may,
Go ahead.
thank you. The, what's being said, some of what's being said is accurate. We're also finding that the vendors, they're delaying sending in information, and they're also, when they do send it in, they're not signing it. Part of the public contracts law requires valid signatures, either in person or electronic, and we've been having trouble getting some of those signatures. So we do have items that are encumbered, but it takes a while to get them properly processed. So that's, the good news is we have the funds encumbered, but it is frustrating for our staff members to try and process the payments when it's, there has to be give and take with the vendors, and we're training them to work with local governments. So we continue to do that. The Millennium Strategies, the council, no, actually the city went out for, we went out for a bid for this service, and Millennium Strategies, their fees did go up, but they were the best overall value for the city. So that's their monthly retainer, and we are receiving significant services from them. We have received grant funding that's thanks to their efforts, and they've been working closely with our engineer and myself on different capital projects and grant funding opportunities. So they have been bringing the city more revenue than they have cost us. So just examples.
So Millennium Strategy, they increased their fees in the middle of our contract, or is this a new
No,
contract?
the contract had expired, and we went out to bid. We were looking for grant funding, we were looking for grant funding firms, so they responded, so did a couple of
And when did
others.
excuse me for interrupting, when did their contract end? Was that the third quarter? Is that why we're receiving this in the fourth quarter?
Was it June 30th of this year, or was it last year?
No, it's this year. We just did it recently.
Yeah, so it was, their new contract started July 1st of this year.
And how
Well-
long is the contract good for, Bob?
I think it's 2 years with an option to renew for a third year, but we can look it up and send that out tomorrow.
Yeah, that'd be nice if we were locked in for the 4,000 for 2 years.
I would like to get back to the issue of the bills list minus the 8 items. Now, since we've already received the services, it sounds to me like our council members are interested in taking it off the table at this meeting, just as a heads up, not just for the department, but for the companies. It's unbelievable that we're not receiving bills in a timely way, and you are questioning the process. So there is no problem with paying a bill a month later, as far as I know. We have encumbered the funds. It's not as if we're not going to be short the funds. Is there a problem with us putting off the items for the next meeting?
Only, and I'm not aware of anything.
I mean, yeah, I don't think, I've never heard of there
Everybody's
being a
trying to
problem.
close their books.
What?
Everybody's trying to close their books.
It doesn't matter what they,
Yeah, that's,
And some of these are older than a month. I mean, these are June, July, some
no,
are
I
January,
understand,
and
but
March.
you're saying, I asked you the question about when, when you receive, you say you just received them. So I have no problem putting it off a month to have the people on the council get whatever information they deem necessary, or pull together some new procedures that we may not have in place. As I said, I don't think it's against the law to pay the bill. As long as the funds are encumbered,
The prompt-
why not pay it a month later? It really doesn't matter.
Can you share with us what the problem is with that?
Isn't there first of all a prompt payment law that we're officially supposed to pay
What?
the vendors?
Mike?
Certain contracts, yes, I'm not sure if this falls into that. And when did you get them, though? That's
That's what he just
We
got.
just got it.
That's what I meant.
I'm not exact on the date that we got the invoice.
What's going to change? Nothing's going to change. Whatever he's telling you now, it's not going to change. So what are
Charles,
gonna do?
you have two members of the council that have expressed,
I'm only saying, what's going to change?
I hope the
The guy is
procedure-
telling you is not. No,
I
the
am
procedure-
not-
The procedure is not, the procedure won't impact anything that has already taken place. That's going forward. That's going forward. So it's not going to impact what we already have.
well, I believe these companies, if we're going to continue using them, may get the message that perhaps they have got to send their bills in a timely manner. And the department itself has got to be put on alert that this is not acceptable. The point is, right now, we've been told,
Tell you, the invoice date on one of these is 4/6/23. So it's not, we didn't get it a month ago or a day ago. That's the invoice date. They dated it 4/6, doesn't mean they sent it or they.
well, I
did it
need to know,
approximately-
don't you stamp in things when they come in? Don't the bills, when you receive bills, don't you have someone giving the date of the
The
receipt?
departments don't do that as of now, no.
Who doesn't do that?
The departments get the invoices.
I think this is a mess.
I agree with Councilman Cobb's suggestion. I agree that we need to have an audit of the after-school program and also of the summer day camp.
I didn't hear him ask for that, but right now we're dealing with Resolution 385-12-19-23, minus the 8 items that deal with the Recreation Department. Are we ready to, does anyone else want to say anything about this?
Yes,
Okay, go ahead.
So do I, but I would like to say one last thing before we vote on pulling those several items. If in fact that we do pull it, what's our hope here? Is our hope that the vendors will change their price, their procedure, or how we pay? What's our hope as we pull that?
Excuse me, I just got a call that the live feed is not working.
We know, we got the information.
Our internet is down. I'm recording the meeting and we'll post it tomorrow.
People are very upset about that. Their couches.
Mr. Wilson, was that question to me?
Yes, if you're
I'm hoping
we're pulling.
I'm hoping I get some insight into what our taxpayers are spending their money on. Just on this one bills and claims, $20,000. And if a constituent asked me what we spent the money on, and I said a mad scientist, I would hope that they'd be disappointed in me. So I'm going to really need to know what's going on there before I can vote on this, because this is a lot of money. And are we paying for employees the same day that we're paying for a program to come in? I don't know. What's the role of these companies in some of the issues going on with the after-school program? I don't know. So I don't have any insight into what's going on there. I don't have any insight why we can't clean the bathrooms so that a constituent's daughter doesn't have to change in a porta potty. I have no insight into that. So I'm hoping I get some insight into that so I can vote on this with a good conscience for the taxpayers I represent. That's the whole issue. And I can't describe this right now. So I see spooky, skate-tacular supplies by the health department. Now, I didn't ask specifically about that, but they probably bought a skeleton to put up to celebrate Halloween. I don't need to ask about that. Maybe I will one day. And that was $90. This is $20,000 and we're not cleaning the bathrooms. That's my problem, and I need some insight into that before I vote for it. And all of these, we have 10 pages here that's all been paid, encumbered already, or services rendered. Why are we even voting on it then? Why? Don't ask me for my vote, just do it without me then. But you're asking for my vote, so I need to have some insight into why we're spending $20,000 on mad scientists, but we're not cleaning the bathrooms. So when I get that insight, I'll be able to vote. That's all I'm saying.
And thank you for clearing that up. That's a concern of mine as several other line items here, including the police department, DPW, tires, and so forth. I am in total agreement with you that it makes no sense to spend this type of money on mad science, which I have no idea what that is and who gets paid and how it gets paid. All I'm saying is, as we're governing, as being a governing body and going over the bills and claims, in actuality, it's too late. The services have been rendered. And in order to get in front of this thing, we need to set procedures that are already in place that aren't being followed by personnel, by management, whether they're giving it to us on time or prior to, we should have knowledge of these services, and the city manager could explain these programs to us and where this money goes, because there is no way that you can spend $90 on the skeleton and you can't spend $90 on cleaning the bathroom. I'm in agreement with that. But all I'm saying is that these services have been rendered, and I'm going to leave it like that. Thank you.
So, you know what's interesting? They talk about cleaning the bathrooms. I stood up there with DPW while they cleaned the bathrooms. I was up there when they put the porta potties while they were there. And this has been going on for months, and nobody said a word. But now tonight, we're going to talk about this. So if we're going to talk about this, let's have that the whole bills list. Nobody has said anything about the SID and how much money we got paid from the SID, how much was paid, $100 and some $1,000. What's the difference? What do we owe the SID now? What's the difference? That's important, because they basically paid for the parking meters. That's more significant than what we're talking about, these few items at the rec department. Not saying that that's not important, but if everybody wants to muscle up and get a little courage, political courage, let's have at it right here, because I would love nothing more than to go through this line by line, and let's have a question about every one of them. The fact of the matter is, there's a problem. The process is broken. That's what we should reconcile. What's the root cause of this, if that's your concern? If you choose not to vote, that's your prerogative. That's your prerogative. Nobody's not telling you that. But all of a sudden, there becomes a target here. But when there's a whole bunch of targets on this thing that we should be really talking about, I look forward to having this type of conversation about the bills and claims, because it's important. We should know what we're spending our tax dollars on. But what I'm not going to stand up here and do is like, we're going to selectively go after certain things. Well, that's not right. We're not doing it justice. If we're going to do this whole process, we have a moment with Mr. Kaufman and Mr. Hoffman and say, hey, the process is broke. This is what we'd like to see. We feel bad about it, and especially if I understood what Mr. Kaufman said, that this is an audit finding, we shouldn't even be arguing about it. We should say, what was the resolution to the audit finding? Because if the resolution is not working, that means that, okay, we got a problem.
Sometimes, Mr. Cobb, that they have selected the items from the rec department as the thing they're looking at. However, you and I both know that's just symptomatic, and it's something they could stick their teeth into right now. But obviously, what this will do is force you to get information for your next meeting, so you can begin to discuss the process. The procedure sounds crazy to me.
Well,
That we've been allowing this.
well, but again, that's what Mr. Hoffman and Mr. Kaufman, they're
Good.
responsible. So we have to hold them accountable for what we feel that's not being done right. Because, listen, we're the policymakers, but the procedures, they're executing this daily. And all I'm saying to you is, it's not just that one. It's a whole lot of things on here that are problematic.
No one is disagreeing with you.
And all I'm saying is, listen, right now, end of the year, this is a moot point. We got to move forward. This is an audit finding. How did we figure this out? How did we do this? You know, to pay so little when we got other items on here that are significant in dollars, you know, I think that there's some questions we need to be getting answers for there too as well. That's what
I
I'm
don't
saying.
want to be repetitive, but I understand what they're doing, and you do too. Sometimes in order to initiate the discussion, you've got to be able to target something. This was a no-brainer, because it's very obvious, and there are so many items involved. You can pull these, and these will be discussed in terms of procedure at your next meeting, and it should be taken up at the next workshop. And you're absolutely right, Mr. Hoffman and Michael have to answer for this.
I just want to make a comment. You know, we get the bills and claims, I think usually Friday night before the council meeting. I just want people to understand that. And then we have time to look at it before our meeting on Tuesday. So the fact, I would disagree with you with saying that it's, quote, targeted, because I usually, you know, Mr. Hoffman asked me, can I send him a list of my questions on bills and claims 2 days in advance? So usually by Sunday, I send him a list, and it's throughout the bills and claims. Is that not correct, Mr. Hoffman? I go through every...
Yep.
I mean, I went through quite a lot of these, all the departments' bills and claims, and I start getting answers back usually on Monday. Some I get back on Tuesday. Some of them, it's explained, and I understand what these bills and claims are. That's most of them. And then sometimes there are those that just stand out, and you say, okay, you know, we have a problem. And so that's what you're seeing. But to say, I wouldn't say I know I can speak for myself as I'm comprehensive. I go through all the bills and claims, and I ask my questions in advance, and they do take a couple of days for the answers to come in. And I think that's how it should be done by everybody, you know, giving people time to answer the questions. But we do have a problem with the 8 bills that Councilman Rosenzweig asked to pull. You know, we could have another discussion another time about the red flags and all that, but I just wanted to set that record straight.
Point of information, please, Madam President. I've heard a lot I've heard a lot tonight about the bathrooms. I want the governing body to know, or to be reminded, that we did go out to bid for this service, and the bathrooms are being cleaned. We wound up adding bathrooms in recreation that needed to be cleaned. They hadn't been done before, so we had porta potties, but sometime in, I guess, the spring or the summer, we went out to bid for cleaning services for our buildings, as well as for our recreational assets. And we met with the rec director to make sure we knew when the bathrooms needed to be cleaned, because they usually need to be cleaned 3 out of the 4 seasons. So we We put that into our bid specifications, and now the bathrooms are being cleaned, and we've eliminated most of the porta potties. The audit finding for for some of our bills was that the bills were not being encumbered prior to the services being rendered. So what's been happening is that we have been doing blanket purchase orders, and we've been meeting with the department heads, and we've been making sure that that there are purchase orders in place, or that there are requisitions in place, so that the services, whatever the services are, the funds are encumbered before the services are delivered. So that was the audit. That was probably the audit comment that our CFO was referring to. Michael, was that it?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So the easiest thing to do is, once it's encumbered, then you need to review it. If it doesn't stick, then we take it out.
If it doesn't what? Sorry.
If once it's encumbered into the system, then you need to go in and review what's encumbered. And then there needs to be a question to say, hey, does this make sense? Or does this, what's behind this? What does this do? So that way, it doesn't go any farther until it's approved. So it could be either approved by you or Mr. Hoffman. That way that's the control right there, your approval. And so that's how it has to move forward.
Well, yeah,
And
everything that's encumbered, every single thing is checked out, is looked at before.
Well, okay, so
Yeah.
then you're answering the question. So you're saying that all these items that Councilman Rosenzweig wants to pull have been reviewed by you or Mr. Hoffman? That's what you're saying to me?
Yes.
Right, so he's asking for additional information because he doesn't feel comfortable with this. But if he's talking to you and Mr. Hoffman and y'all reviewed it, then you guys need to tell him what you can add to this or what you cannot add to this. Because you're the people based on what you're telling me, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
I'm going by
if
what
the
you're
council,
telling me.
if council wants me to, if the department says that this is the program that they're doing, do you want me to go and question? I mean, how am I supposed to question them saying,
That's
my
not your job.
responsibility.
No.
That's my responsibility.
But what I'm saying to you is, at this point now, basically, you said everything that's encumbered,
Yes.
you've reviewed.
Yes.
Or you or Mr. Hoffman have reviewed.
And the QPA.
Whatever, right? So all I'm saying is, what additional information can you provide Councilman Rosenzweig with that, so he gets comfortable, or if he doesn't get comfortable with the information that you give him, you're the person, or Mr. Hoffman is the person. And if you don't have any additional information, you should say that.
we have a report, it's a long report. I could send it out monthly. The whole budget for every department, everything that's open, and then the council could review that every month and see what is encumbered, if that's what the council wants.
No, listen, I got my answer. I know the process. You just explained it to me. So everybody else has to get comfortable with it, whatever that is. And you're saying that between the two of you, there's a review. That's the control. So
For people in the
when we want to test the control, we want to know, say, okay, can you give us additional information or not? That's a yes or no answer. That's very simple. That's very simple. So I got the process. I get that. So, if somebody wants additional information, you should say, we either have it or we don't have it. I mean, I think it's very simple. That's all.
We have a motion and a second for the bills and claims list minus the 8 items. We have a roll call.
I had a question that never was answered.
Oh, I'm sorry.
149,876.27 on page.
Those were the meters that the Sid
Right,
laid
so
out for us.
My question was, how much more remaining do we owe?
That's
this-
it.
That's it. So this
Yes.
is the final payment?
Yes.
Okay. That was, and I have 2 other questions. We have the Pierce aerial ladder for $1,359,000. And then we have another one for the Pierce aerial ladder 98.7. Is that the same apparatus, or we got two things coming?
Councilman Cobb, what page is that on?
Page 8.
Okay. The 1.3 million for the Pierce, that's for the ladder truck, and that was actually leaving Wisconsin today, so,
Yeah, but we got another entry that says Pierce ladder, aerial ladder as well.
Because it was charged with two different ordinances, that's why.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. Same truck.
Maybe we can make a reference in there so we know it's the same thing. You know what I mean? If it's the same item.
Yeah, it's
maybe
Pierce
we should
aerial ladder.
reference
It says-
one or two, whatever it is, you know? So we know it's the same truck. And I just had two other questions, Judy. And they're for Mr. Volsi, actually. Mr. Volsi, 155,516.69 on page 8, the Hudson Avenue culvert replacement. What's the status and where we at?
Obviously, we're in the process of putting that together. They're delivering, they're expecting delivery of some of the culvert construction. Okay.
Turn it on, please.
Franz, come here.
Okay, no, I'm okay. They're expecting some of the delivery of the culvert precast on the 29th.
yeah.
So they're going to be working all through the holidays to make sure that they're ready to receive those precasts. There was some issues with deliveries, but they found an opening, I guess, during the Christmas break. Some openings opened up in terms of delivery, so they're accepting the precast as quickly as they can come. So right now, it looks like the delivery day is the 29th, so they're going to be working. So they make sure that they're ready for those deliveries. But the final end of this is probably, we're looking at March, April, for the project to be completed.
Okay, and I got one more question. Chestnut Street, 237, same page, right below.
237, that's New Prince. We are in the process of repairing Chestnut Street. Part of the project was to analyze the storm and the sanitary. Because Chestnut Street is a concrete roadway, it was impossible for us to really know how badly the sanitary and the storm was impacted. After cleaning it out and TVing it, we're finding out that either did a major number in the sanitary and the storm system. The sanitary was sort of like half full. It was still functioning, but it was severely impacted. And the storm system is just, a lot of the piping has just been dislodged. So we've asked New Prince to give us several quotes for the repairs of the sanitary and the storm. And we are in the process right now with working with FEMA, trying to get some funding to see if we can get that process, those infrastructure items completed. So that's where we are right now.
Okay,
So
and for both of those projects and all our projects, when they're being engaged, are we notifying the residents? You know, are we keeping them aware of how long these things are going to take?
yeah, part of what we do is prior to the project starting, we notify the residents and let them know, hey, we're going to be doing, let's say we're going to be doing Chestnut Street. We're going to be doing the road reconstruction of Chestnut between Brayton and Lydecker, and it's going to last for the next 90 days. What we're finding now is there's additional work that needs to be done. That notice hasn't gone out yet because we're still trying to figure out, hey, can we get the funding to get this done? How long it's going to take, et cetera. Once we have that finalized, we're probably going to send a secondary notice to the residents to let them know that the project may be a little longer than we anticipated.
Yeah, I think that courtesy would help
Yes.
calm people and
I
reduce
agree.
phone calls.
Yes.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have a few questions while Mr. Volsi's there, if I may.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Good evening, sir. How are you today?
How are you?
Good. Just so you can clear up in regards to the status of the pads that we talked about, so the constituents will know in our budget line, it's taped off for a particular reason. And so now that we have people here and listening as well, I would like for you to explain to our citizens so we don't fall into
Sure.
As you know, we are in the process of putting a brand-new play equipment along McKay at McKay Park. It consists of 3 parts. There's the outdoor fitness, there's a new playground area for the children, there's also the swing set. What we've currently done right now, we've sort of poured the concrete pad and the curbing for the fitness areas. But what needs to happen right now, they're all warded off. No one should be using them. What has to happen is
Say that one more time?
no one should be using them.
Okay.
We still have to put the rubber matting on those beneath those play surfaces. What happens is with the rubber matting, you need at least 45 degree of temperature, dry weather for that rubber to adhere to the concrete, etc. So right now it looks like that's something that's going to happen in the spring. So right now we have everything sort of cautioned off, and the public should not be using that equipment right now. The public should not be using the equipment.
It doesn't.
I think it's going to be very nice when it's completed. We still have some landscaping we want to do when it's completed, and we still have a few touches that we want to add to it for the final project. But right now, unfortunately, because of the weather, we're sort of like at a standstill.
Thank you. I appreciate it. If we can turn our attention to page number 1, if you go 7 or 6 down, and it goes 2303388, the ICMA conference, is that for the League of Municipalities?
No, that's the International City County Management Association. It's an international conference that I attended. It was in Texas.
Okay. And prayerfully, that benefits us, you bringing back that information.
Oh, it absolutely does. There were several sessions on sustainability, on climate change, but also on the changing role of police departments and interaction with residents. And there is very, very valuable information that I've brought back that I've shared with some of our department heads, and that'll be rolled out during the 2024 budget process.
Okay, thank you. And if we move down to 2303558 in regards to work on backlog of minutes, and I understand as Ken had brought out before that we have had a bunch of ordinances passed, and I guess we're getting above ourselves. And if in fact that if this is something that we cannot keep up with, should we be looking at permanent help?
Yes, that's something that needs to be evaluated. But part of this is we wanted to make sure that all of the minutes that were related to COA were
Up to date.
were up to date.
Sure, I understand that.
So that was part of this.
Okay.
But going forward, right now, we have an unfunded state mandate for Oprah requests, and it's taking approximately the work hours of 5 employees to keep up with the Oprah requests. And the majority of the Oprah requests falls on our city clerk. She's responsible for the records of the city, but over the course of the city staff, it's taking up a significant amount of time. But it's also there are things that have to be done. There's basically a seven-day time when the city clerk has to respond. So that means that other things have to be put aside. So that's why we needed that. So that's going to be a discussion for 2024.
And why I bring that up is because I get several calls, and I want the constituents to understand that the clerk's office is overburdened, and the people do not understand in regards to Oprah requests not being met in a timely manner. And so we know that that's part of the situation. So that's why I offer the opportunity for us to get some type of assistance.
Councilman Wilson, if I may, one of the things that I'd like to compliment the council on is they helped us invest in technology and software this year so that we would be able to reduce some of the time delay for Oprah requests and other things, and we will be able to point residents towards information that'll be on our website through spatial data logic and other things. And that's just something that has been pilot tested by our city clerk, by our construction official and others. And we are moving through the implementation process, but that will provide benefits to anybody that's looking for OPA requests, and it will help us reduce the amount of time that it takes to respond to those OPA requests, because it can be done electronically. And OPRA has become a crutch for some types of work. So when houses are being sold, there's OPA requests. They want, every piece of information under the sun related to a block and a lot. So that's some of the information that we will be able to point people to through SDL, and that'll help ease the backlog in the clerk's office.
Okay, I understand how it will relate to real estate as well, but it also relates to police, fire, and just what we do here as a city being transparent. And a lot of constituents do not understand that process. So the OPRA seems to be their only outlet. And if we move down quickly to Business Systems Unlimited Equipment Police / Garage for $20,320.11. Could we explain that real quick? That was on page 1. Thank you. 3/4 of the way down. 2303,426.
This was a lot of equipment for the police in the garage. I could go through each.
No. Is it their garage or is it the parking garage?
It's the parking garage.
So is part of that the upkeep of the cameras that we're concerned about passing the ordinance in regards to the graffiti?
Yes, some of this is related to the cameras that were vandalized and were replaced.
Okay, and if we go down to page 2, Police Department, Valley Health Medical, 2303366, and it says $400, pre-employee physicals. Is that the psychological?
Hold on.
Because the last time I asked this question on the item, shaking your head no. I'm waiting to see.
Sorry, what page is it?
It's on page number 2. And so what I'm really waiting to see is the bill for Sykes.
No, this is for drug testing and,
So am I missing psychological entries? Or would that be under a different caption? Because this is the second meeting I've asked about the physical part, and it doesn't seem to come up. Is that part of the package that
yeah,
comes in the
this
physical?
Valley Health, this is part of the physical. So there's pre-placement physical exam for each person, $670, and then.
No. I understand that now that you've explained that. I appreciate that. But
Yeah.
what I'm asking for, am I
Sorry.
missing something for the psychological?
I don't know.
So you're asking if it's on this bills list, and we'll.
Yeah,
I don't believe
I
it
asked
is.
the previous meeting as well for the bills and claims. And my concern is, because we're problematic in certain departments, that if in fact that they're going through the proper channels of being vetted and the psychologicals are in place. And where's that bill? Am I missing it? Because we got new police, new fire, and I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
And I'm concerned because previously we've had individuals come into our city that haven't had psychologicals and didn't have interviews. So I want to know where this appears somewhere throughout the year on all these new hires.
So we will look and we will get the council the information, but I don't believe it's on this bills list.
Okay. I'm sorry.
It's not on the bills list. How is it being paid?
Right, does it exist? That's my,
That's the question. It's not there. How is it being paid?
Okay, and so I'm gonna try to move through these as quickly as possible, but it's a real concern of mine. We're going back to tires. And the last bills and claims, I didn't get the information in regards to, I don't even want to repeat the number of what we were paying for tires. I'll just stay current on what tires are here. $2,448.79.
So what page is that on, Councilman Wilson?
Page number 2, 4, the fifth item from the bottom.
Okay. And some of the questions for the tires, the last time there was an email that was sent out to the council a couple days after the last meeting, but we can.
I'll have to go back and take a look at that.
Yeah, we
I must
can get that
apologize. I
information.
must have missed that.
So these are rotors and pad kits.
Okay. And now, this is a big one. You have red dye. And red dye comes up to $28,602.16. And there's repetitive entries in regards to red dye.
On page 3, Michael.
Yes, I see them.
Okay.
And as you're looking for that, I will ask my final question, which is, I don't know. If we go to page 7, under utilities, 2303-462, solid waste disposal. The last quarter of the bottom of page 7, you have 5 entries in the amount of $168,020. I don't doubt that may be the price. My problem is, how are we governing in this? And because I'm getting complaints in regards to lack of leaf removals that are causing situations on Honeck and other areas where individuals have their basements flooded because we are not attending to the leaf/debris problem, but we're paying over $168,000 for removal. And we're having problems with people's basements being flooded because debris and leaves aren't being removed in their area. And that's hard for me to sell to my constituents when they're having continuous property damage.
This is the disposal from our DPW yard after it's collected off the streets. This is when it's removed to go someplace else. What you're referring to is there's I spoke with a nice lady in the back of the auditorium before who had problems with water in her basement, and she was nice enough to show me pictures, and there was cars on the street that were parked on piles of leaves, and then there was leaves that looked like it was hard to get to for the DPW, but we're going to follow up. There was also a couple of other problems on that street. There was debris that came from other commercial establishments that wound up in our sewer lines, but this is something I was just made aware of, and we have to follow up on it. There's also a problem with some electric on that street, but we need to look at that and make sure that things are taken care of. I will say that over the last 2 weekends with the heavy rains we had on both weekends, we had we had areas where we had flooding on some roads, but only on part of the roads. But, when it's in somebody's basement, that's a problem.
Yes,
So-
and I believe our fire, our police, our DPW, my personal opinion of our city workers are that they're superheroes. And so if in fact that this is a part where we have to play on having proper signage and having the cars alternate, usually these individuals don't live in our fair city. And I want to give our superheroes a chance to either give them tickets, tow, and slash, have proper street cleaning, because there should be no street or no ward in our city that should be underserved. So thank you.
No, you're right, and, it was timely because our traffic sergeant was outside, so the information about Marion Honick was relayed to him so that we can take action tomorrow. And thank you for giving a shout out to the superheroes in the DPW, because for the past year, they've been cleaning out catch basins and storm lines, and when you looked at the Overpeck Creek this past weekend and the weekend before, it was flowing rapidly, and there was no islands in it, so that helped prevent flooding in several different areas of the city.
But we have to help these people. Enforcement has to take place.
Absolutely.
It has to take place.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. And that's part of the problem. Because if these guys come to do their job, and you know what, we're getting ready to go to snow season, and it'll be the same thing as leaf season. Same exact thing. So I think that we need to, get out, communicate, and tell folks that they need to move their cars so DPW can do their job. We got to help them in that way.
Absolutely.
The red dye USLD was for September and October. I don't know.
That to go with our sewer system? How does that? What is the particular usage for red dye? Because I see several entries in that, and I would hope that we're doing something to help along our infrastructure, if you will.
Okay, I'll get specifics from Ed Roy.
Okay, I thought you was coming back with the answer. Thank you.
Yeah.
That and doctors,
Okay.
right?
We have a
That's
motion
what-
on the table for bills and claims. We have a motion and a second on the table for bills and claims minus the 8 items. Roll call?
Councilman Cobb.
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig.
Yes.
Councilman Wilson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatski.
Yes.
Council President Marin.
Yes. Okay, we now move on to ordinances. This is the second reading. Yancy, you want to read ordinance 2329?
This is an ordinance of the City of Englewood, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to amend Chapter 319, Property Registration of the General Ordinances of the City of Englewood.
Okay, we're going to have this is a public hearing, so that any of you that would like to speak, question, criticize, anything that has to do with ordinance 2329, please come up to the microphone. We need your name, your address, and you have 3 minutes. And remember, this is only to do with ordinance 2329, which has to do with property registration.
Mr. Bailey, could you explain that to the public?
Yeah, I was just about to ask that. I didn't know what that is.
Sure. The ordinance that's before you right now is essentially the format prescribed by the state. A few years ago, the state legislature passed laws that required for vacant and abandoned properties, but also properties that are in foreclosure, not just the owner of the property, but if you're XYZ Bank foreclosing on a piece of property, you have to identify yourself, register with the city, so that if it's vacant and it's not being maintained, you can go to the entity that's foreclosing and say, hey, you better clean this up. There's vermin, it's overgrown, it's getting dangerous, and it requires them to file with the clerk and the city so that our code enforcement can then go out and there's an accountable party to go after.
All right, can something like that be construed as discriminatory or targeting certain individuals, especially, you know, in the black and brown communities? Because most of the time we see something like this is just a way for people to, you know, get a heads up so that their buddies or their cronies could go and use that registration list and try to, you know, snatch these properties from underneath poor people. I mean, what is the necessity of, I mean, the bank knows the property's foreclosed. What do you have to register for? I mean, don't you register enough things? You register your dog, you register your bike, you register everything. Like, how many more things? Is there a fee to register? Or, I mean, who's it benefiting to register these properties? I mean, I know we have the accelerated tax sale, you know, and to me, that seems a little bit discriminatory too. You know, I mean, you know, how do you accelerate a tax sales? And we all know where those sales are basically focused at. You know, primarily in the 4th Ward or in some cases the 3rd Ward, but it's never on top of the hill. So, you know, whenever we see these legislative lynchings, we know exactly what they end up, you know, who they actually end up affecting. So I would really like to know, like, what is the necessity to have anything like this on the books? It defeats the purpose to me. If you're in foreclosure, you're in foreclosure. What the hell you need to register for? If somebody's not keeping the property clean, send them a letter, tell them to clean the property up. It's going to benefit somebody, I know, but it's going to be somebody that's not even from the community at the end of the day. This is what happens all the time. This is gentrification and redlining 101. You know, these things always end up discriminating against a certain race or class or group of people. It's a no-brainer. You know what I'm saying? So can you tell me that? Because I think it's going to be a problem. And, you know, in the word of Ken Rosenzweig, I need some insight on this. You know? You give me some insight?
Yeah.
Do you want to?
Sure. So, one, it's a state law. It's not something that the council made up. Number two, this lets you go after the bank. If there's a bank foreclosing on 1 Main Street, the city doesn't necessarily know what bank it is. This requires them to sign up with the city so the city can say, hey, bank, you're foreclosing on this. You need to take care of the property.
But to me, it seems like, you know, that's also a way for a potential buyer to get in. You know, people in the city that have friends and connections say, well, you know, this property and this is the bank. So it kind of goes around. And, you know, I don't care about state laws or international laws or any laws at all, Bill, because most of these laws, people break them. Some people feel they don't apply to them, and they still affect people that look like me. So laws don't mean anything, whether they're the state or anything. This is just another way for people to exploit other people. That's what a law is. You understand? A statute is the same thing, or an act is the same thing. All right? So I just don't understand. And again, I want to use Ken's word. I need some insight on this right here, because I still don't understand what it is. And I just see it as something else that's going to exploit people of color in this community.
I would like to answer that. Mr. Wilby? The calls that I've gotten about vacant properties or properties that are, you know, overgrown and are causing a problem, whether it's rats or squatters, or have all been about properties in the 3rd Ward. When you pass a property that's overgrown, nobody knows the color of the person who owns the property. The neighbor, excuse me, I'm talking. The neighbors know. All the neighbors know is it's an eyesore, and they're afraid of it. They don't want to live next to a house that's vacant. I have one very close to me, and I know the neighbors are not very happy about it. It's very important for the city, if we complain to the city about a property like that, that they be able to identify who to go to. So that, so it's all baloney, this black, brown, white, green, who cares? The point is, it's a problem in the neighborhood. Nobody cares about the color of the owner. What we care about is the safety of the people who live on the street.
Okay.
I have a question, if I may. You want to close the public hearing?
I'm now going to close the public hearing.
Thank you. So my question is has this been challenged on constitutional grounds for overreaching throughout the state or any part in the state?
I believe it has.
It has.
Because this statute was actually amended in 2021 in
Right,
response
so-
to challenges.
So I understand that we have a police interest, if you would, in code enforcement and cleaning up property. But there is a element of privacy and piercing veils that are not within the city's interest, and a breach of privacy that also may create content. Are these lists going to be publicly available or only available to the city?
It's a list of the foreclosing entities they have to register.
No, I understand that. So if somebody buys
So
a
yes,
property...
it's a public record,
Yeah,
so
so in other words, if somebody buys a property and they don't want anybody to know about it for estate purposes or otherwise, we're breaching their privacy.
it's a
in the-
public record anyway.
No, I understand that. The block, the lot, and
And
the
the
general...
price and...
Right, the price and all of that stuff is common knowledge. But there is a proprietary interest in preserving people's privacy. I mean, I can understand going after people and asking somebody at a certain point if a house is becoming unkempt to then register and give us the bank information. I can see the police interest in doing that. But I do see this to be overreaching in some fashion with the eye towards preserving every house in case they all become whatever, and it becomes another job registration fee process. Who promoted this and why, if I ask, Mr. Bailey?
The state legislature.
No, I understand that, but
And every town I can
statistically,
think
how
of
many-
has this.
Every town?
I'm pretty
Yeah,
much
but I'm
required.
also concerned about the
But
constitutional...
the information you've mentioned, you can get anyway just from getting someone's property record
No,
card.
I get that.
That
but
shows the grantor, that's a town record as well.
I understand the police interest for those homes that are unkempt and historically are not kept well, and then pursuing it in a process and a system for those houses, I think is admirable. Doing an entire thing throughout the city, I think may be overreaching, and there may be consequences we don't perceive. That's
You
my
only
point.
register if you're a bank foreclosing.
Only if you're a
You have to
bank...
say, I'm taking, this property's in foreclosure, the people have been evicted.
Okay, so not
So now
every...
our code official, since there's no one, the prior owner's not there,
Okay.
they can contact the bank, say, hey, clean up the
So
property.
this isn't a registration for every property in the city of Englewood?
No.
It's just for banks that are starting a process?
Right.
Okay, what were the constitutional challenges in other communities?
I didn't read the opinions, I don't know.
You know, have they been surmounted? Have they,
No, this law has been in effect now for 2 years.
all right, do you see any consequence to banks that the city of Englewood does work with? Would there be
No.
a conflict if they're putting us on notice and they're vendors for some of our accounts?
No, it's just the private
Process.
action that they're,
Right. And there is a transparency element then, I suppose, to the community, that a bank is beginning to register its interest in cleaning up a property to the extent that that puts pressure on a homeowner or the owner of the property to change it. I have less of a problem if that's what it's for. Thank you.
If I may, if I may, Madam Chair, I think that this is, very important, especially in my ward. There are individuals, whether they're investors or private homeowners, who come into a particular area and purchase property only to redevelop, build out, or knock down. And until such time it's done, the property is not maintained properly. And so this gives the city a recourse on how, in fact, that we can go after these individuals that blight our city, whether it's in my ward and other wards. But I know my ward suffers from blighted properties that put our youth in danger. So I, for one, am for this.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay, do we have a...
Huh? I, for one, am for this because it's blighted areas that
Just for the
put our children in danger. And it's part of transparency. Who's in our neighborhood investing? Who's in our neighborhood being a slumlord? That's not what Inglewood's about. And we want to keep our seniors and our Section 8 people and whoever they may be safe. And this is just a process. And for those investors that want to be named, left anonymous, that's a problem. If in fact you want to be in our city and be autonomous to our laws and not do the proper thing, that also is a problem. So I, for one, am for this.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay, we need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second? Do we have a second?
I second it.
Thank you, Ken. Roll call.
Councilman Kopp?
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Absolutely.
Councilwoman Wasatski?
Yes.
Council President Marin?
Yes. Thank you, Yancy. Okay, the next ordinance is ordinance 23-31. Yancy, would you please read that?
This is an ordinance of the City of Englewood, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, establishing Chapter 315, procedure to name public spaces of the general legislation of the City of Englewood.
Okay, we now will open the public hearing on ordinance 2331. Anyone with anything to say, questions, comments? We need your name, your address, and you have 3 minutes. Please come to the microphone.
Yeah, Rick Roby again. The last time we was here and we talked about this ordinance, I guess Ken was really concerned about this thing and he wanted to push it through right away. So, and I asked a question about the break room in the police department being named after somebody. Was that something that was also taken care of, or this was just swept under the rug, business as usual? Because, I mean, I don't understand how somebody that gives the police department sandwiches and brings them to the house and gives them gift cards and all this nepotism and stuff gets to name a whole room in the police department after himself. I just don't get it. I mean, I know there's no such thing as racism or anything like that, but do I still have to be dead for 2 years to have something named after me around here? Or what is the process? I don't have to talk to my councilman. I don't have to engage Kevin in this in case he doesn't like me. I could just go around the process and get a street named after me around here. I just want to know. I need some clarity. I need some insight again, if that's okay. Anybody give me some insight?
Excuse me. If there are any other questions, we'll take those first, and then we'll get you an answer.
All right. I'm going to wait.
Good evening. My name is Frank Huddle, the 3rd, 485 Highview Road, Englewood, New Jersey. I'll watch the clock. I'm here tonight on procedure. 2011, council policies were reformed to achieve best practices and full transparency. A work session was created. It didn't exist the way it exists from 2011 through 2017, 2018. That work session is not to have any votes. It's supposed to be a work session. We actually sat here and colleagues speak and the public speak. And all documents were provided. That's not what occurred here. This ordinance should not be here tonight because you didn't follow the policy. Council President, this is your last day, and this seems to be some rush, which at least I believe, no, I don't, I believe, let me rephrase that. Municipalities don't do what's happening today because more information is needed. Now I got 1 minute, 41 seconds. Next. Your ordinance says a common practice to co-name existing streets, etc., is a common practice. I have no idea, Councilman Rosenzweig, what you've done in the last 3-4 years, because you said 100 people called you. I'd like to get that list. I live in your ward. I'd like to know who wants to be honored. However, I was mayor for 9 years. I was council president, I believe, for 3 years. And there were 3 streets named in 3 years. That's not common practice. And those 3 streets were Vince Lombardi, Reverend Taylor, and Rabbi Golden. In each of those instances, the mayor moved that forward. And surprisingly, there was some comments of resistance, but all in all, the council, as Mr. Bailey should advise the council, that there's a majority vote. So at any time, that can happen. Now, I wonder whether we would be able to honor those three individuals through codifying some rules and regulations that, again, Councilman Rosenzweig says is not binding. Oh boy, got 15 seconds. Let me get to this. This ordinance needs to be amended to allow the mayor to also bring forward those to be honored, and requests should go to the mayor and the city council, not the city manager. So in a nutshell, for once, before you leave, Council President, the city really requires open and transparent government. This ordinance should have been provided 2 weeks ago, and it should not be voted on the last day. So your moment in time is, and others, to pass a law that could potentially last forever. I believe this ordinance should be voted down, allow the elected officials to do their job, and if necessary, bring it to the council at large for majority vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to piggyback, Leroy Campbell, Tenafly Road, just to piggyback on a little bit of what Frank said. I think we all here tonight know why this is, and it's because of the library. And that's all I'm going to say. Because you all know what's happening at that library, what should happen at that library, and you're stalling because you don't want it to happen.
Does anyone else have anything else to add before I close the open session, general session? I'm sorry, only one time. Okay. All right. So I am closing the public session. Can we have a motion, please? Or anyone on the oh, okay, Kevin. Do we have a second? Yeah, that's what we're doing. Do we have a second?
Who made a motion?
Kevin, do we have a second?
Kevin, you made a motion to what?
Okay,
Yeah, you gotta be clear.
okay. Okay, it doesn't, you're taking it back? Okay, I need a motion.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion?
Discussion. After reading this thing a few times, I am troubled a few parts of this ordinance. And so therefore, I will be voting against this. I think that one of the things that I see here that's really, I think, kind of disrespectful to the people that we want to honor is when you say they'll have to pay, or the people who put them up will have to pay a fee with the petition. And that's not what we want to do to people that we want to honor. I just think that it should be a simple process, a process that's also respectful of the individuals that come up to be honored. So I think that this is something, I understand we have to have a framework. I believe in that, but this is not the framework that I think that we need to have. I think there needs to be some adjustments to this, some major leagues. So my vote will be no for this, and that's where I stand on that.
Would anyone else like to say something on the council? Kevin?
Yes, but in the previous meeting, we discussed some items that we were able to take out, and I am appreciative. But I also think that this is a document that needs some work, and for me, for one, I think it's important that we have things on the books So we have some type of guidelines to work by. But what I don't like to do is to rush through these guidelines that we're putting in place and we go, we'll fix it later. If in fact that we think that things need to be fixed, let's get it right the first time. So I would like to see some of these things adjusted and / removed. And I think in honoring our citizens or our superheroes and sheroes, that the city should be on the line of paying for these streets and signs on the buildings. Thank you.
Would anyone else have anything to add? Okay, roll call.
Councilman Cobb?
No.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
No.
Councilwoman Wasatski?
Yes.
Council President Marin?
Yes.
So the final vote is 3 yes, 2 no. Motion passes.
Okay. Now we go to ordinances, introduction. This is a first reading. There are none. Now we go to public comment on agenda items. Once again, we're asking for your name, your address. You have 3 minutes. Please come up to the microphone. No one? This is public comment on agenda items. The consent agenda as it is on this is Resolution 386-1219-23 through 402-12-19-23.
How you doing? Raymond Diaz, 408 Shannon Court. I see resolutions 401 through 405. It says authorized execution agreement with condominium association, but has no information. I'm asking, is this Cross Creek Condo Association or it's another one?
I'm not sure.
What is that?
Oak Trail.
Oak Trail.
Oak Trail? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, what is this agreement about? What do we make an agreement? Because there was a bill item which I didn't have the opportunity to ask a question, which at one time we did. And I was wondering if it's tied into this, where it was a condo association reimbursement fee of $140,000. Is that typical? What is that? And do we have it with all condos?
Bob, you want to answer this?
Okay, yes. Thank you, Council President. I will. By the way, there's updated agendas over there that has additional information, but this is an agreement with the condo association. It's to pay them for picking up garbage for streetlights, for things of that nature, but it's it's based on their costs, and then we compare it to the cost of if the city came in to pick up the garbage and things like that. So that's what this agreement is for. And with all condo associations, there's a state law that says that we have to have agreements with them to do that.
To pick up their garbage? And we pay for that?
Perhaps
we paid for that? What was
Council President, if I could just add a little bit.
Absolutely.
So the statute called the Qualified Municipal Services Act. So if a municipality, like for single-family homes, typically picks up the garbage, recycling, leaf, pays for the streetlights, snow plowing. If a municipality doesn't do it for a condominium association, the municipality is obligated to at least reimburse the association for them having to get a private contractor to do all that work. And they have to reimburse at the cost of what it would have cost the municipality if it did it themselves, or the actual cost that the condo association incurs, whichever is less. Almost all the time, the municipal cost is less because the private contractors tend to charge more, and they may come out if there's half an inch of snow as opposed to 2 inches of snow, things like that. So It's a statutory requirement. So that's what the prior one was for Cross Creek. That agreement was approved 2 weeks ago. This one's for another one called Oak Trail.
Okay, appreciate it.
And
Thank you.
there's others out there that we're working on.
Gotcha.
Does anybody else have anything related to the resolution, the consent agenda? Okay. Can I close the general session? Yes? Okay. Can I have a motion to approve resolutions 386-12-19-23 through 402-12-19-23?
I want to pull 401.
Before we do that,
Does
Right,
anyone,
Pull 401.
I'm
And have that
sorry,
explained to us.
and 392, please?
can I, Charles, you want it explained or pulled?
I want to pull it, and we want to talk about it. 401.
Pull for a vote or pull just to talk about it?
401, you're talking about personnel policies?
Is it to
Vote.
vote on separately or just?
Vote on it separately, but talk about it too, all by
Okay,
itself.
so we're going to pull 401-12-19-23, which is adopting personnel policies and procedures. And what was the second one?
392, I'd just like the opportunity to have that explained.
Cancellation of old outstanding checks.
Do you want it voted on separately?
Oh,
Do you want that voted on separately or just?
Not necessarily, a simple explanation.
okay. So we want an explanation of the canceled checks, cancellation of the canceled checks. And Charles is asking for 401-12-19-23 to be pulled and voted on separately. Okay. I don't believe I got a motion on this.
Well,
I want to get
if
a
you,
motion.
well, you want to just address Councilman Wilson's question about 392?
Sure, go ahead, Michael.
Those are any outstanding checks that are 6 months or older. We cancel them. We contact the individuals that didn't cash their checks and reissue them if we could get in contact with them. We try all the methods to contact them.
That's kind of what I thought that might be, but I wanted to hear that explanation because that may explain why when we have the bills and claims that we're having double entries on certain units, or are these canceled checks that we do with vendors one time and they go away? My concern is, I mean, if we're getting vendors that aren't cashing checks and they're volunteering for their services, that's great. I don't think that's the issue. So I want to understand the process, how we have this amount of money and it's available and not being cashed.
They just are not cashing the checks. I don't know how to explain that better, but.
Okay. All right.
So you can call for a motion and roll call on all of them, but
Except-
3401.
Except 401. Okay, so can we have a motion on 386-12-19-23 through 402-12-19-23 minus 401-12-19-23? Everything except the policy manual. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
It wasn't ready to go on.
Can I have a second? I second.
Bill said it wasn't ready to go
Okay,
on.
roll call. This is everything but 401.
Councilman Kopp?
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatski?
Yes.
Council President Marin?
Yes.
So now 401.
Now we're going to discuss 401-12-19-23, which is the resolution adopting personnel policies and procedures. Would you like
Motion
to?
and a second first.
Okay, first, can I have a motion? Second?
Second.
Okay.
Discussion.
Now we need the discussion.
Discussion will be from the HR director. She'll lead us.
Charles, you might-
Excellent. Thank you. Welcome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. So this is to go over the personnel policy manual. This is the first time this has been.
So just if I may, this is our HR director.
Oh,
This
I'm
is This is
sorry.
Alexis Waiters. Ms. Waiters joined our staff on February 1st of this year, and she's been a very welcome addition to our staff. And this is one of the first projects that she undertook, was to help us update our personnel manual. The last time it was updated was in January of 2020, and we're appreciative of her efforts. So go ahead, Alexis.
Okay, so in reviewing the policy manual, we had some assistance from our attorneys who gave us some updated information, but we also looked at our policy manual and compared it to some other cities. So our policy manual is this one, it's 171 pages, but then when you look at the city of Newark, their policy manual is 40 pages. So we have a lot more detailed information in our policy manual than you see in other cities. But also, in looking at it, we added some policies that we thought were needed for the city. One of them is nepotism policy. One is working remotely. And those are probably the two biggest ones that we have. So in looking at the different policies, we also looked at some of the things that we wanted to add, and this is what you have in front of you. So I wasn't sure exactly what some of the questions were that you had that I could answer, and whatever questions you have, please let me know.
Is this policy manual going to be distributed to every employee of the city of Englewood? And are you going to require them to sign it to say they have received a policy manual?
That is correct. So it's for all employees. So there's some exceptions would be collective bargaining agreements. That would supersede the things that we have in the manual. But if the union contract is silent, then the city manual will be the one that we work with.
Yeah, but I get that, but I'm just saying, I just want to understand, everybody will get a copy.
Correct.
Everybody will be required to sign.
That is correct.
That's right.
No other questions? You're making this too easy.
No, there's more questions. I was just waiting.
Well, we're not gonna waste your time like that, but I'm sure Councilman Wilson has some questions.
Right.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm happy that you came because people wanted to see a face to the name of the new position, and who in fact they may contact. So welcome to our fair city. This doesn't seem to be pulling up. Anyway, to get into the nepotism policy in regards to, I think the hot topic is vetting right now.
So the policy now is one that's going to be very transparent. So we actually have an understanding of what a prohibited relationship would be. Some of the typical things is that someone who is related to someone shouldn't be answering to them directly. There should be something around that. And also, as part of an application process, we ask all candidates to give us the relationship of anyone that they may be related to. So before we even start an interview process, we already know who's related to who, and now it can be more transparent as we move forward.
Yeah, we hope that to be the case. How do we address in the booklet in regards to existing situations in our departments?
So I would say that that would be something that if we look at and see it's problematic, that I would bring it to the city manager.
It's problematic.
Problematic would be, so we say here that a prohibited relationship is created when one relative will have an authority to supervise either directly or from one level above, appoint, remove, discipline, evaluate, or otherwise affect the work or employment of another relative. The relative would be responsible for ordering the work of the other. Other circumstances exist which would place the relative in a situation of actual or reasonably foreseeable conflict between the city's interests and their own.
Okay, And so we're clarifying the word relative. Is that correct?
Yes.
Not relationship, because nepotism comes in many different forms. And one may be a marital situation or a sleeping arrangement situation. And we suffer from some type of nepotism from time to time when people have relationships within the department and they look for those individuals to be hired. Are we looking at anything like that as far as nepotism, or are we calling that something else?
Well, the definition is the hiring, promoting, transferring, demoting, or reassigning of relatives is prohibited.
I got it.
Right. So you're
And
saying,
so I adjusted that to give it to you for a real scenario of situations that we have going throughout the city right now. Did we skip that? And you said that in 140 pages? Is
yes,
that what
so we
have?
did skip this because this
Okay.
actually was not in the old policy. We did not have a nepotism policy. That
No,
was in the employee handbook.
I understand, and so this is probably your first time hearing me. And so what I'm concerned here at the council is I'm so tired of us saying that we never done something. This is the first time. Let's pass it. Let's overlook it. We'll look into it next time. Let's fix it the next time around. I am so tired of that. We're all intelligent here. I'm quite sure you're very intelligent because we wouldn't have hired you. I want to get this thing done right. And I don't want to skip over opportunities that are happening right now as we speak. And people are looking for promotions for those type of favors. And to me, that's a different type of nepotism. And we're suffering from that, whether it's lawsuits, supervisors that may not be ready to do that particular position. And I don't want us to be liable for things that we're not covering. So I think it's important, and I can appreciate the work that you put into 140 pages. We've been working with HR for the last, 26 years, trying to get policies in place in regards to the chain of command of testing, of interviewing, but that may not be in the human resource manual either, but it's in your peripheral. So I would just like maybe that, I don't know if the supervisors are part of the input of that, or is that your particular baby?
So I think absolutely that supervisors, department heads have an input in this. I think that this is a living document. And as part of that, in order for it really to be something that becomes effective, everybody has to buy into it. So the first step is actually putting this out here to everybody to discuss it, make some changes if you need to.
How long does that document live?
It lives forever. It lives until we decide something dies.
Okay.
And it can die next month if you want it to. They have to go through the whole process. But once we start this, it lives from the inception. So from the moment we talk about putting it in paper, birth has started. And now we are going to protect the life. And if we have to make changes to that, then we go through the proper challenges to make sure that happens. But everybody who is part of leadership is part of this process.
Or part of the problem?
Depending how you look at it. Is the glass half full or is it half empty?
Well, I'm here all my life, and I've worked for the city, so, and my concern is that we have a particular large amount of lawsuits, and I don't want to compare us to Newark or anyone else. I think we're a unique city within ourselves, and my concern is hostile work environment, if you will. And that's one of the headlines in, I think it's number 7 or something, but it's in there, right? I don't remember the proper verbiage, but my concern is accountability. When we subject women or people of different choices and/or men in our departments, and we continue to send these people back under the same supervisor that has created a hostile work environment, whether it's calling them a name, put them on an improper duty and/or slash time. And the individual that works for the city gets tired of that, where they have no other recourse but to find another job, which usually doesn't happen, and more likely we get sued. And so I've had a conversation with the city manager some time ago in regards to that we have supervisors that have said to our employees, what are you going to do, sue me? And so that is problematic. And I think in a hostile work environment that we need to hold our supervisors to a higher accountability so it doesn't backlash on the city and we have to open up the piggy bank because someone's insensitive, whether they're being racist or they're addressing someone's gender. So if in fact that you think that that's in that policy, I'm more than willing to say, let's let that policy live. But I don't think it is, though.
I think when you look at the employee handbook in totality,
Yes, ma'am.
it is in there. The first thing I think we have to do is set expectations. So what does the city of Inglewood want for their employees? You want them to work in an environment that is fair, firm, and consistent. And that should be our first look at every time we deal with an issue.
But that is not where we are, ma'am.
That's true. That's not where we are. But that's why we have a living document. So we have to change it so that we can get there. Because it is something that is attainable. But the only way to be attainable is for the city to set expectations that we give our leadership and expect our leadership to treat our employees the same.
Well, that's what I was asking in regards to the hostile work environment. What are our expectations for the leadership?
That we are fair, that we are firm, and we are consistent. So it doesn't matter what where your place in society is, are we treating everybody the same? Do we have the same expectation?
Absolutely not.
And if we don't, why don't we set it up? It can be done.
Okay, so if in fact that someone violates that particular policy, what happens to that particular supervisor?
They should be disciplined.
And who determines that, you?
Well, I think that it is a shared responsibility. So you have your city manager, we have attorneys, we have counsel. We need to sit down and have a conversation of what and how we should treat a person who is violating the company policies, procedures, state statutes, etc.
Because we have some of those things on the books already, and we have employees having horrific attitudes towards our citizens. And that can't continue.
I totally agree.
There has to be some type of line where these individuals that are constant offenders are being addressed in the spirit of that manual.
Well, we have to act on it. If we have the document and the document is approved and we're ready to go for it, then we have to act on it. That's where consistency comes in place.
Okay. I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, Ms. Marin, I have a quick question. Thank you so much, Alexis, for being here this evening. You spoke of setting expectations, transparency, and I appreciate what you're trying to do, that a person in a leadership role, if they have a familial relationship, could you give us the term of art? If somebody's a godchild or worked with somebody in another environment, but they're not related and they have a close enough relationship from another employment, is it encompass all of those relationships? What is the actual term of art? And then, is there any teeth in the personnel document that if somebody does not reveal it, is that then immediately used against them, or is it just one of the factors to factor in?
I wouldn't say it's immediately used against them. I think that is a factor. It goes to truthfulness. And if we expect our employees to be ethical if we expect our employees to be trustworthy, then we have to set the expectation that when you fill your application out,
Thank
that
you.
you're doing exactly that.
Thank you, and I appreciate that, but can you just read the term or at least recite to me in generality? Is it, the question asks if you're in a familial relationship, if you are an immediate relative, if you're related to, if you've worked with each other? I just want to get the terms so I understand how broad it is to encompass this transparency.
Well, I'll read this paragraph. It says employees who marry, enter into a civil union or a domestic partnership or become related by marriage, civil union, or domestic partnership may continue in their employment if the marriage, civil union, or domestic partnership does not result in the creation of a prohibited relationship. Where the marriage, civil union, or domestic partnership results in the creation of a prohibited relationship, the Human Resource Director or the designated will explore the situation, including reassignment or other appropriate actions. Relative includes spouse, civil union partner, domestic partner, parent, stepchild, step-parent, child, sibling, step-sibling, half-sibling, father-in-law, mother-in-law, sister-in-law, brother-in-law, grandparent, grandchild, aunt, uncle, niece, nephew, and first cousins. And then also, they actually look at consensual relationships section of the policy prohibiting harassment in the workplace. So this policy applies to all employees hired, promoted, transferred, demoted, or reassigned on or after the date of adoption, and to all prohibited relationships created on or after the date of adoption.
Thank you. So it wouldn't include second, third cousins and all of that, presumably? It would only be first cousins. It would
Second
only,
and third cousins.
it
but
wouldn't, right?
No, it says cousin.
But
So
if there was
somebody is
a-
a cousin.
Right.
So in
It only
different-
said first cousin, it just didn't say cousin.
Well, in different communities, family means a whole lot of things.
Sure.
So when someone passes away, we give people flexibility to show that although this is not my related mother, this was a person who was mother-like in my life, and we'll give them bereavement time. I would say that's the same way we should look at this,
Right,
for
so-
consistency's sake.
So, and I appreciate that there's a lot of familial relationships. Do you think it wise, Alexis, to have another term, or any other familial relationship? In other
Well-
words, if you say that you're
I would
construing it
definitely say
broadly.
that I would take that and give it to our council and let them give us a definition for it, so that we can be consistent in how we're applying things. Because another problem, when we inconsistently add this and add that without having any support to support us moving in that
No,
direction.
I know, and I also don't want to target out. I have a lot of people in my life, as I was growing up, where I called them uncle or aunt, and they weren't related to me, but I was raised to address them in that fashion. I just want to make sure it's overly inclusive, because I know that there are a lot of, in many parts of our city, familial relationships or distant relationships, and we're trying to ferret all that out. So thank you so much.
So this is actually talking about relatives. So this policy is defining relatives. It's not defining familiar relationships, as I gave you an example in bereavement, but we're talking relatives.
Okay.
So we're asking people, when they apply for this job, to actually give us a list of those people that they are, they consider to be a relative. So we do give a candidate or an employee an opportunity to define who they consider to be a relative.
Is there any other circumstance other than familial that you think would be relevant? In other words, if somebody worked, or let's say somebody's spouse works for a spouse of a personnel or a chief of a department, and therefore there could be a pressure on that person outside because there's an employer-employee relationship. In other words, I can't extrapolate or create all of them, but it's not just familial relationships that creates an appearance of impropriety or pressure. It could be an employment vector also. Has that been accommodated?
It could be, because we're saying to that candidate to give us those relationships.
Right, just the familial ones. I'm asking for an
So we
employment
ask,
vector.
this talks about relatives. So
Okay.
relatives include spouse, and it goes through those whole
Good, so
definitions.
somebody's spouse then,
So you should not be working for your wife or your husband
right.
in the city of Inglewood.
Or if
without-
your spouse is working for
or
somebody who's
without telling
related
us.
to the personnel director.
Mhm, That's right, that's right.
Okay.
I have a couple of questions. In the same realm, what about a romantic relationship? I was listening for you, in other words, Do we have anything that relates to that at all?
Well, that goes under harassment. So now, if anybody has any type of influence over another person, and we find that that person is getting special treatment, that can fall under that. Doesn't necessarily fall under nepotism. But
No, I know.
that goes into a harassment circumstance, and that is covered under our handbook as well.
Okay, because that could be even more difficult. But anyway, we have definitely different bargaining units that have their agreements. When it's an area is not covered in the agreement, that means that the policy in that book is going to govern?
Traditionally, that's the way it has worked, that if you have a union contract, and the union contract is sounded on some issues, but we have that as a policy, then we will go for the policy. Now, we might get a grievance, but that would be the way to
No,
start.
I just wanted to make sure. And the other thing was, in the litigation that Kevin was referring to, when you have people who are cited time after time in different lawsuits by employees, what is the position of the city in terms of, obviously, while the case is going on? I don't remember anyone being suspended. I'm just wondering, how do we deal with supervisors that are involved in these cases over a period of time, numerous times?
Well, I would say we would look at just the way we've had other circumstances in the city, where someone's accused of a circumstance that may turn out to be something criminal, and while we are investigating that person, we remove them from the position. In most cases, with pay.
Oh, we do?
Yes, we have done that. Not all cases, but I can definitely show you cases where we have.
Okay, because some of these are civil actions, they're not criminal.
Well, while we're doing the investigation, and we're doing the fact-finding, we remove that person from that role so
With
that
pay.
we can start to look into circumstances.
Yeah, but
And if we didn't, we should have.
Well, I'm concerned about that because a lot of these cases, are settled. They never go as far as a trial.
Well, it's up to the city to decide how they want to move forward once they've finished their fact-finding. And one of the ways of doing that is to settle. That's one of the options.
No, unfortunately, I know all about that. What I'm saying is if an individual, male, female, doesn't matter, if a supervisor is involved in a series of issues, what is the city's position? Can a person be fired for something? I haven't seen anything like that happen.
A person can definitely be fired because if you are involved in a circumstance that goes through an investigation and we finish our fact-finding, and the fact-finding reveals that people did not follow the policy or procedure, who may have been unethical, once you make that determination, then we can move forward from there. So everything is on the table while we're investigating, but you don't make the final decision until you get all your facts together. Or you shouldn't anyway.
Well, okay, thank you. Does anyone? Charles?
I have a question. I think Councilman Wilson asked you something about if you're filling out something with the application or something, and if you don't disclose that, if I understood what you were saying, they may not be terminated for that?
Well, if someone puts some false information on the application.
Or purposely just leaves it off.
And this is going to be part of the application, and they did not tell us the truth, that means they weren't truthful, and we can terminate them based on that.
No. I mean, they should be terminated for that. I mean, I think that should be clear. In most applications, it tells you if you mislead or misleading statements or whatever, you will be effectively terminated immediately. And that's what it should
And we have that
read.
as part of our application process as well.
Oh, I want to make sure because I don't think that you should start off a job like that. You should never be like that at a job. But I think that we should send a message that these are the types of employees we have here. But it also, I think part of this that I heard also was fairness. That don't happen here.
Well, we got to change that. Listen, we can
Well,
change that.
listen, I hope that you're the messenger of fairness, because we.
Well, you
we
know
could-
what? I could be the messenger of fairness if I get all the people here to feel that that is an expectation that we want for the
Well,
city.
then they have to have the
Then-
political courage to do that.
And then if that happens, then we can have fairness.
Listen,
Because
I'm-
it's a team effort. It's not one person.
No, I agree with you, and I'm all about fairness. But you know what? Fairness starts at City Hall. It's the tone at the top, then it comes down.
And
Because
you're the top.
whatever
This
you.
is the top. This is the governing party, the
Yeah,
governing party.
but you're there to execute the day-to-day operations,
Exactly.
right? So there's a certain expectation because you deal with the folks. We're just the policymakers, right?
That sounds good, but we
Right.
know that's not really the way it
No,
works.
But no,
People look-
that,
People
listen,
look at the people here on this dais as the people with the power who makes the difference. And as long as we're being fair, we're being firm, and we're being consistent, we send a message that this is the expectations to work for the city of Inglewood.
if we operated the way you just said this, there'll be a lot of different promotions in the city of Inglewood than the ones that are happening right now. I will tell you that. I will tell you that right now. I will tell you that right now. Because that's number one. And number two, these salaries in here will be a lot different. I will tell you that right now. I stand on that, and I take anybody who wants to talk about that, let's have at it.
Well, I agree with
So
you.
that's what
I
I'm
agree
saying
with
to you.
you.
So we
It's-
don't have
it's
to get
about
into that,
making it
but what
better
I'm
for the
saying,
city.
but we're here to talk about this document, right? So I'm not going to get off topic with that. But I stand by what I said. And if you believe that fairness is here, then guess what? You have an open invitation to come all the time. And you shouldn't have just came tonight. You should have been coming. Right? Because we're here to make sure that you're successful. And if you need the tools to be successful, we want to hear that. Because we want, what we want, or let me just say this, let me back up. What I'd like to have for people who work at the city of Inglewood is to feel that they work at a place that's fair. A place that they can grow a career and have a career. We have certain expectations.
This is a commercial moment.
No. It's not. I'm not.
No, I'm talking about being real.
I'm not making no commercial.
No, I'm talking about being real. So in order for
Right.
us to get that message out, this is something that has to be repeated with all of your partners up here. If everybody feels that way, let's move forward.
Listen, as I said earlier, I'm speaking for myself, and everybody here up here is capable of speaking for themselves, right? But I'm just saying to you that fairness, people in the city of Inglewood, whether you have unions or whatever, they should feel that every day they come to work, they're going to be treated fairly. Now, the fairly can be defined many different ways, right? But, you know, some of the key things is that we're giving them a fair living wage. We should assess that. I've been asking for that for a long time. I'm drawing the line in the sand in 24. So whatever I got to do, I'm going to do for that, because we have expectations of people coming to work every day to do their job. On the flip side, they need to be rewarded for that. Some people do get rewarded, and some people don't. That happens across the board in many corporations and all that, right? But if people say they're fair, they're getting promoted fairly, we are hiring people with the right skill sets, so we can execute the expectations that have been put upon us, or those women and men that work for the city of Inglewood. But there's no way that anybody can sit up here and say, oh, we are fair, because we're not. Not in terms of so many things. Just like that document, we should be a work in progress to get there, right? This document. But if you feel you need our support, then you need to say that, which you said.
I need your support, because this is not going to work if you don't get support from the governing body. It just doesn't work. If it does, if you get the support, then what you said can change. That people can come to work in the city of Inglewood and know they're going to be treated fairly, because not only will it get to a governing body, but it will trickle down for real.
Yeah, but you know what you just said, right? You put yourself in the box. Because if I give you my support, then I have expectations, right? Real talk. So that you're in HR, the expectations there are very serious, are very critical to the success of this city, right? People who get hired here have to come through there's a process there, right? To get that. but it's also an expectation that people are being held accountable. People's problems when they come to you are being addressed in a manner that people believe that are comfortable with that. But more importantly, you've been here since February. You have an opinion now. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not going to ask you for your opinion in public right now. But you have an opinion. You've formulated an opinion. You know what we need to do. You know what the shortcomings are. But I can tell you that there are a lot of people that work for the city that are not happy, that are not being treated fair. But my expectation is that needs to be addressed, good, bad, or indifferent, in a way that says that we are fair. We are a fair employer.
Right.
And to our employees, right? So, you know, my hope is that that document, along with what you're planning to do, will get us there. That's my hope.
And that's the way it really is, because this is the starting point. This is the foundation. You manage through your policies. You can't say somebody did something wrong unless you have a policy that addresses the expectation for them. You share the policy with all employees. You make sure everybody knows where to find it. And then when people do something that you feel is a violation, whether it's very low or very high, this is where you start. And if you don't have this, you can't start. You can't get to that. Huh?
We're lacking enforcement.
Well, you're not really lacking enforcement because you don't have a policy. Now, if we adopt this and we don't use it, then we're not enforcing it. But the first step is we have to adopt the policy. We have to have a rigorous conversation to determine what needs to be in this book and how it should be used, because you are the people to go to. Once we do that, then we can go for it, and then we can talk about enforcement. But first we have to have it before we can enforce it.
Well,
because right now we don't have it.
You're saying we're the people that you go to.
No.
That's right.
If an employee comes, what you're saying is an employee comes to us. What you're saying, it's okay for them to come to us.
No, what I'm saying,
because if we address it, it's going to be a little different than you address it. I got that.
No, what I'm saying is that we go back to the governing body. So the first thing we all have to understand that there's a chain of command. So even if a resident comes to you and talks about it, you should direct them back to the process. And we have to understand the process and have faith in the process to make the process work.
No,
people going to you, I'm not going to tell them to stop, because if you're the governing body and you agree with this, you're saying that my faith is in the policy that I looked at, that I read, that I have some understanding on, that I ask questions about, and go through the policy, go through the process, and let's see how it comes in it. It's like, do you believe in the system or you don't? If you believe in the system, then you say that I have influence to change the system, and I can get people to see it the same way. That's what this policy is all about.
Usually, what happens is people come, at least they come to me, because they've gone through all the hoops already, and their frustration has led them to me. So then you're saying, then you're telling me to send them back to you.
No.
No, that's what you said.
No, I'm saying to you that if you believe in this process, if you looked at this handbook and you read through it, you have questions about what you think should or should not be in it. But once you adopt it, then all of us have to take the responsibility of using this as our document. And as we go through it, because it's a living document, when we start to see failings, then we talk about what can we do to change it, to get us back on track. But we also realize as part of this process, we still have union contracts that we already agreed to. And sometimes there's going to be a conflict. And if we don't agree with them and they don't agree with us, then we go through a grievance procedure and arbitration. That's how we handle that. But for those employees that don't have an agreement, this is how we go for it. And then they may not be happy, and they may go to council and say, they're not treating me fairly. Then we can just go and give information so that you can see the process is being handled like it's supposed to. Because if it's not, then you can look on page 17 and say, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, we didn't do the post-testing, we didn't ask questions, we didn't go for witnesses. It's all these things that we can look at to see whether or not we're treating people fairly when we have already adopted a handbook that people use to go forward with.
Well, then the people in the leadership positions need to be trained on that document, right?
No doubt.
And my concern is also retaliation. for employees.
Well,
And how do we monitor and manage that? How
so
do
the
we
first
have?
thing with training, so let's go to
Yep.
training. So we train our leaders. We get our department heads, we get our managers, we get everybody who's a people leader, and we train them. As part of that training, we tell them about retaliation, because retaliation is part of this policy too. And if a leader is caught retaliating, they're being subject to discipline as well. So we are being transparent from the beginning. Everybody knows what the expectation is. And the number one thing is being fair, being firm, and being consistent. And when somebody doesn't want to do that, and they've been trained, then all the accountability falls on them, because the city did what they were supposed to do. Now, if we train the leader and they're not following, then the leader has to be disciplined.
You know, you talk about discipline on a lot of people, but, you know, in certain.
Or corrective action. I changed the word to corrective action.
Or corrective action. But with retaliation, most companies now do termination.
That's right, as they should.
So that's what I'm saying. Why don't we be live and use that word so people understand the severity of it when you take an action that's negative against somebody else who's an employee of yours?
Well, that's what the training is. So when you read through retaliation policy, and you train your leaders on that, they have to know, and they will know, that part of the consequences when you treat people unfairly and you retaliate against them because they're doing what's right and you don't agree with, that they can be disciplined. So employees should have the confidence to know when they come to work that they're going to be treated fairly. And that when they go to somebody who is in leadership, the leadership person have the integrity to say, we're going to go through the process and see what happens. That's what we have to say.
You think people think they're being treated fairly?
No.
Okay.
No. People won't be treated fairly.
You answered my question.
If you never set up expectations, how can they be treated
No,
fairly?
but because, listen, you just said no. And now we
Because
gotta,
we
that's
don't
gonna
have-
say
we have to have
expectations.
this.
Right, but I, listen, even if we didn't have that, there's a certain, just how you deal with people and how you treat people, right? So now we have a framework, a fluid framework, because it evolves, it can be changed, and we can add, take, whatever, and as we go along, how it fits, right? So people need to be educated how to use that policy to their benefit, but also use it as a training tool to guide them in how they go to work every day. So that means that we're going to invest time in every employee in terms of training so they understand what's in that policy.
I agree. I think that's the way to do it.
I mean, I would hope that y'all already got it laid out. Here's where we're going to go,
We have it laid out. We have a plan.
Okay.
We can't use this plan until we get this adopted.
No, I get that, you know, I get that, because we have nothing now, so something's better than nothing. But I hope that that document is used in the way that it protects the city, but it benefits the employee.
Right.
So it has to be fair to the employee, because there are a lot of shortcomings. I know some people don't want to say it. I'm calling it like it is, because, you know, I think people tend to come here and want to do a good job. They work hard, but they need to be treated fairly. And they need to be clear on how you get promoted, how you get raises, and all that needs to come into that. And I know you just got here, and you can't do everything at one time. But they need to understand these things, right? Because the better, and the better that people understand how it works, the easier it is to have those conversations with them.
That's absolutely true.
And to be guided with them,
Right.
right?
And part of our training is to get our supervisors and leaders to share expectations with their employees at the beginning of each year, and then on a regular basis have one-on-ones, and then you have a mid-year evaluation, and then you have your end-of-the-year evaluation. And if that happens, then we will see a city getting better. We might see some complaints rise because, you need turbulence to get to the next level. And if you never have turbulence, you never get to the next level. And that's part of the process.
We'll see. Thank you.
All right. Go ahead, Ken.
Ms. Waiters, thank you so much. Your attention to detail on this is obvious. So really, thank you. It's a breath of fresh air to have you here, and congratulations on your first year here.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Alder?
I'm going to call for a vote if no one else on the council has anything. Okay, roll call.
Councilman Cott?
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatski?
Yes.
Council President Marin?
Yes, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, it carries easily. That was good. Okay, we now move on to the resolution for vote. We're talking about 403-12-19-23, which is the appointment of a member for the Board of Adjustment. Michael, you want to tell us who this is?
Miss Margaret Haynes, a longtime resident of the city of Englewood, recommended to me by Miss Alita Frazell. I conducted a Zoom session with her, concerned about very legitimate development and challenges in our central business district, and I think would be a fine adjunct to the Board of Adjustment. I would suggest moving Mr. Uri Moshe, who has the capability of leading the Board of Adjustment according to the current chair, from a alternate position to a full position, and then putting Ms. Haynes into the alternate position. I want to thank Angelina Rivera, who's going to be leaving the city of Englewood for her service, dedicated, appreciated, and a big loss for our city, but we wish her Godspeed in her service. There will be other people stepping forward as I've been in touch. On that board, the Board of Adjustment, the Environmental Commission, the Library Board, and the other boards that I have the privilege of appointing. If anybody's interested in serving, please send me your resume. There is an appointment that's available on the Housing Authority. There are requirements for that and some of the other boards that you actually participate in educational forums. There was a member of my planning board that had to step down because he hadn't taken the classes, and I was about to appoint somebody to relieve him, and he had taken the classes and came back. So that appointment I'll be making shortly, a reappointment. But if anybody wants to serve in any of these boards or has an interest, please reach out to me. The right email for those watching this is mayorwilds@cityofenglewood.org, MAYORWILDES @cityofenglewood.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Do we have a motion?
Before we move, I have a question for the city attorney. So I'm just looking at Dr. Haynes's CV. I see she's on a committee at Mount Sinai where I work. I'm actually not familiar with this committee. I have no interactions with it. There are 42,000 employees at Mount Sinai.
I don't think you have a comment.
Okay, all right, excellent, thank you.
Okay,
Can I just ask a question before we move forward? So the two members that were potential members that we're voting on, I know them, but when it comes to January, and if we're going to be voting on new people to the Board of Adjustment and the council needs to vote on it, what is the process for the council to get to know people who you're asking us to vote for on the Board of Adjustment? Like, should we be meeting them in closed session? Just so we know who, so we know who we're voting for.
I asked several of the city leaders before I made this appointment if
No, I'm
she
not
was...
talking about these appointments. I'm just saying, going forward, if there are going to be new people who are not reappointments coming onto the Board of Adjustments,
Right.
I would like to see a process in place for the council to meet these people before we vote on them, because I don't think that we're doing taking our responsibility seriously if we're voting on people that we don't know.
Well, that's, the process for the Board of Adjustment allows the mayor to make a nomination. I don't think there's any problem with you reaching out to the individual individually and either having a meeting or doing a Zoom directly, or the governing body having a committee and setting it up. I don't want to torture any one resident into a series of meetings only to introduce them to the world of Zoom, where both the Board of Adjustment and the Planning Board are relegated. And again, before I make appointments, it has been my practice to reach out to the governing body members to let them know that I'm doing this before I put pen to paper. But there's nothing preventing you or any other person meeting with any of these appointees, whether I nominate or not.
So, Mr. Bailey, do you find that in some towns that there's a process in place for the council to just have an opportunity to meet?
I've not in years seen candidates for one of the boards actually come to a closed session and be interviewed. I have seen the individual elected officials reach out to that person, because
Okay.
sometimes it's someone that 4 out of 5 of you might know for 30 years and know their qualities and all that, but there might be someone that's new that doesn't know the person, and as the mayor
Okay.
pointed out, there's nothing wrong with reaching out to
All
that
right.
person.
I also have notes that I take, and I was looking for them now. I just find the questions that I put to people when I interview them sometimes are proprietarial, and I wouldn't want to put it out there. But I'm happy in camera or privately to show my notes and share them as to why I felt it was. I called up the Board of Adjustment chair, some members of the governing body that may have known her, and a former councilman, also Mr. Hamer, just to check if he had known the party. I also looked through my emails and my notes.
This isn't.
No, not on this
meant
person,
to
but I'm saying there are a lot of ways for us to cross-reference the person's ties and qualifications. But you're free to interview them by all means.
Mr. Bailey, answered the question. He said that if we don't know the individual we're asked to vote for, to reach out and have a conversation. And so that's the process. So now I know the process. Thank you.
Okay, I have do we have a motion? This is to appoint.
So moved.
You have a second, please? Second? I second. Any other comment on this? All right, roll call.
Councilman Kopp?
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatski?
Yes.
Council President Marin?
Yes. Okay, we now are moving to communications from the governing body and the city manager. Michael?
Thank you. It's so late. But I'm going to try to do this as quickly as possible. Happy holidays, ladies and gentlemen. I want to wish everyone a safe and happy holiday season, a healthy and prosperous new year, whether you recently celebrated Hanukkah as I did or looking forward to celebrating Christmas or Kwanzaa in the coming days, follow other customs or none at all. We still agree that this is the time of year that we should reflect on our stations, our relationships, appreciate neighbors, family, friends, other blessings, strive to spread peace, love, and understanding throughout our community and beyond. To those celebrating, please be respectful of your neighbors, allow loud, late music or parties, and be safe. If you're drinking, don't drive. And remember that most fireworks are illegal here for a reason, so leave them to the pros. We want everyone around in one piece to enjoy the new year with us. Our garbage and Christmas tree pickup schedule, I'm not going to go through it at length, but it is posted. Again, if you do keep your tree up for an extended period of time, please remember they can become more of a fire hazard over time as they dry out, so please continue to provide water to the base of the tree until it is removed and keep it clear of open flames or high heat. Again, all the different wards in the Christmas tree pickup and the tree pickups and all of that are posted for the community. Please continue, ladies and gentlemen, to enjoy the free metered parking. I want to remind everyone parking is suspended through December 25 in order to make it easier for residents and visitors to take advantage of our tremendous downtown shopping, dining, and entertainment experience. New businesses continue to open. We have 2 ribbon cuttings this week still, so if you haven't visited our downtown lately, now is a great time to see what you've been missing, or if you are a regular, it's just that much easier to support our local businesses while enjoying all that they have to offer. This applies to street parking only, however, not parking decks. The Sun Fun after-school program and winter camp, our city manager has informed us that the Englewood Recreation Winter Camp and McKay Ice Rink will proceed as planned from December 26th
to the 29th. The Sun Fund McLeod after-school program will continue as usual through Friday, December 22nd. However, as of January 2nd, 2024, the program will transition to the Bergen Family Center at the Greco School. Parents can contact Bergen Family Center for enrollment information. Enhanced security measures have been put in place for both programs to ensure the safety and security of our children enrolled. I thank our City Manager, Robert Hoffman, the Chief of Police, Tom Greeley, Superintendent of Schools, Marnie Hazelton, and our additional staff who've been so diligent in attending to the well-being of our children. We take any threat to them seriously, and if any child, parents, or community members are having further concerns, I know that there have been efforts to help educate parents, and I urge you to contact us so that you can be heard and your concerns addressed. Our Congressman, Josh Geitheimer, recently hosted his 5th District Hometown Heroes event at Bergen PAC. Congratulations to our own Englewood Award recipients, Nicole Davis, the Executive Director of the Center for Food Action, Carol Rauscher, the President of the North New Jersey Chamber of Commerce, and Paris Terry with the Englewood Neighborhood Pantry, along with all the other hometown heroes who were honored. We have seen through a pandemic, flood, storms, and all sorts of challenges just how lucky we are to have these kinds of dedicated and selfless members of our community. Thank you for all that you do, and thank you to our Congressman for giving this well-deserved recognition. When speaking of hometown heroes, I also feel the need to mention our own Jeff Carter, Amy Bullock, Courtney Suffren, and the Bergen County NAACP for their work in providing winter coats, hats, scarves for those in need through the Angel Tree Christmas Charity Drive. My firm and I donated. I urge all of you and all the other organizations and individuals who work so hard and care so deeply for our community, I thank you, and I urge you to reach into your own pockets to help those in need. On public safety, we once again thank our Englewood Fire Department for their heroic efforts in keeping our community safe during the recent storm. Also, very special tidings to the Department of Public Works. Very important citizens in our city, along with our police and other city employees who kept busy responding to a variety of hazards, including gas leaks, downed power lines, some of which led to a second alarm fire that needed to be put out. They also helped with the evacuation of residents from flooded homes in New Milford and played a part in the Mid-Bergen Mutual Aid Task Force, and I commend them for their efforts. To those also, including some of our favorite people that were given promotions in both the Englewood Police and Fire Departments, we congratulate you on those accolades. On the toy drive, we thank our Police Department and Fire Department, along with the North Jersey Chamber of Commerce and our good friend Ryan Ruggiero on the CNBC network for all the other volunteers and donors who have supported the community toy drive that is now in its 20th year. Toys will be distributed to families who are registered via a drive-through station at Dwight Morrow High School tomorrow evening. Finally, law enforcement recruitment seminars. They are hosting a law enforcement seminar on Thursday, December 28th at 7 p.m. in the McKay Room in the Englewood Public Library. Anyone who's interested can come meet members of our Englewood Police Department to have questions answered and learn about pathways to a career in law enforcement, the testing, hiring process, opportunities for mentoring, and more in the advanced upcoming entrance exam to be held January 24, 2024. Interested candidates must sign up an exam via the policeapp.com, but no prior registration is needed simply to attend the information seminar. Again, we have a host of ribbon cuttings coming up. I urge you to join us every Friday at 11 o'clock on the Facebook page of the library, where I host Coffee with the Mayor. And again, a special wish, a Merry Christmas to all those that are here, especially Miss Merlene Lorenz. Again, we have Bernard in our minds. We wish you Godspeed. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you. And at this late hour, I'm not going to be long. I'm not going to give you any commercials. I'm just going to give you some facts. It's been they're coming in 2024. It's been a long year, and we will be evaluated by our successes in terms of what we have done for the community. You will be the evaluators of what we've done. I want to thank you for coming out tonight. I want to thank you for coming to all the meetings all year long. I think it's important. I want you to encourage your friends, your relatives, your neighbors to attend these meetings however they can, because it's important information that they need to get. We're going to be having budget talks coming up, and you need to know how the city is going to spend your money. I think it's very important that you voice your concerns if you have them. That's what this is here. This platform is for you to take advantage of. So please do that. I want to thank Reverend Givens for hosting the toy drive on Saturday, along with the Placide family, along with Lloyd Fields family, and the Shiloh AME Zion Church, as they always do. They stepped up big for the community once again. So I think it's important that we support those things as well. There are a number of houses of worship that have stepped up. The Community Baptist Church also has their toy drive and toy giveaway for their residents around the city. Galilee has been feeding people every Thursday. And these are things that I think that we need to recognize and uplift people. And I'm sure there are a lot of other people doing some things that are not pounding their chests to get credit for, but just helping, and even if you're knocking on your neighbor's door and helping them out, that's appreciative. We need to do that type of work. We need to continue to work hard, but we need to continue to be focused. We need to continue to hold this group up here accountable and come here and get your facts. And if your questions are not getting answered, be persistent to get your answers. Don't go away without getting your answers. This stuff is too important to you. And when you come to the mic, speak your mind. That's what you deserve to do here. I just think that it's important. I want to talk about DPW. We have infrastructure problems. We have flooding. But I will tell you that they've made every effort possible to deal with this water. But we can help, right? Don't put leaves by the drains and things of that nature. And if your landscaper comes, tell them to put the leaves away from the drain so the water can get down in the drain. Listen, we have problems. It's not going to be perfect, but it's about the attitude and the effort that they're putting out there to try to get things done. So we need to help them. This is leaf season. We still have snow season to come as well, right? We got to deal with that. So I think it's important that we help them with that, because we need to make sure that these streets are safe to travel. The leaves get out, you get wet, you hit the leaves, you can have an accident. So it's important that we do these things. Now, they're going to have a test for the police department at the McKay Room. They're going to have a seminar. And so if young men and women want to do that, they need to go sign up. Because what's happening here is we want to be committed to getting people from Englewood these jobs. I'm not against anybody, but what I'm against is that we're not getting the opportunity. I want to make sure our young people get the opportunity to get these jobs, pass these tests. We need to help them. We need to put a framework in place. I'm being a little selfish, and I got a lot of intent, because you know what? They need these jobs here. It's a lot different. It makes your community a lot different when people live in this community and they understand how to navigate this community. We got a lot of good people in this community that are sitting on the sidelines because they're disgusted about what's going on in this community. People are not getting the respect. They're not getting the answers that they need. This has got to change. And every day that we come here, we have an opportunity to make a difference. And we need to work on making a difference. It ain't about me, it's about we. And when we get to we, then we'll do it. You know what? You might not like when somebody comes to the mic and says what they say, but you know what? They're entitled to say that. They're entitled to say that. But we also signed up for this. So it's important that we do what we need to do, not just for some of us, but for all of us. You don't just represent one ward. When you vote citywide. So you have impact on everybody's life, whether you agree with it or not. That's a fact. I don't need to take pictures. I think we just need to go work, put the work in, and that's what we need to do in 2024. I think that that's what people expect from us. You know, people are working hard, it's tough times, so let's get behind them and let's work together collegially and work for a better Englewood, make this place better for everybody. I think that that's important, and that's what I'm going to do. And it may not be the popular thing to do, but we have to do that. And we have to call it out, and we have to be held accountable, and we have to be transparent. Didn't say we are perfect. You know, we had an engagement with the HR director, but she knows how we feel. But that's okay, because she understands. This stuff is important, but y'all are important. The residents of the city of Englewood are the most important things. Our young, our old, everybody. And we should treat it as such. I tell you, we should treat it as such. You know, so I just want to wish everybody a happy holiday season. I want you to spend some time with your family and reflect on what's important. We've lost a lot of soldiers this year in Englewood, people who've been here, you know, the Sam Trustees and the Joe Acres. These are people who have been here for a long time, Curtis Cavanis's, and they've played important roles in this community. And I would hope that when we come back in 2024 and start this new council, that we will continue to do the work that will help people move forward. We can't move forward with leaving people behind. We got to make sure everybody participates some way or some form. You know, I think it's important that we do that. And if you see somebody struggling, let's try to help them. I think it's important because all of us are one step away from something else that we don't know. So let's get together. Let's enjoy our season. Let's come back and let's be ready to work, come up with ideas, come up with supporting each other and trying to get there and try to make this city the best city that we can possibly be and not be on the map for other negative things, and let's be some positive things. We got some young people here. Our football, our baseball, and our soccer teams have done great work, and they have represented this city well. So we need to support them as much as we can for our young people. The growth of our young people, they're the future. And we need to put them in better positions. And they need to feel the pride, self-dignity for themselves. So thank you for listening to me, and enjoy your holidays. Thank you.
Ken?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and my compliments to DPW, Englewood Police Department, the Englewood Fire Department for their excellent work on this week's storm. There was some damage to the city, but orders of magnitude less than we've seen in the past. And I'd like to compliment Mr. Hoffman for his continued diligence on improving storm management in the city, because there's no question it would have been a lot worse except for his efforts over the past 14 months. Usually we're a city that needs help. It was this time we were the city that gave help to our neighbors and our neighboring communities. So that was nice to see that we could give back to people who have helped us, to communities that have helped us in the past. I wish everyone warm holiday greetings, and I hope this time gives you moments of joy, rest, and reflection. I wish everyone good health and continued success to the city and to everyone in the coming year. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Ken. Lisa?
Hi, good evening. I too want to give a shout out to DPW, Mr. Hoffman, for all your work with preventive work to help with our flooding. We did really well this weekend, and thank you. I want to thank Councilman Wilson for notifying me yesterday. He called me about 4:05 p.m. to tell me to let me know that Rock Creek Terrace was without electricity. A few weeks before that, in November, Senator Johnson and I had met with the Rock Creek Terrace management, both locally and regionally, so we had a relationship. I was able to reach out to their management company right away. They had been calling PSE&G all day long, and they were told that the electricity would not be restored till 10:30 p.m. They had 10 residents on oxygen. I was able to connect the Rock Creek management with Mr. Berkner, Deputy City Manager, and they were able to reach out to PSE&G. Senator Johnson's office reached out to PSE&G as well, and within an hour and a half of making these phone calls, the electricity was restored 5 hours before they said that they would. So I want to thank Councilman Wilson, Mr. Berkner, Mr. Hoffman, and Senator Johnson for everybody working together, and we got this done. Today at the Rotary Club, we had John Herman from the Englewood Fire Department come and address members. John Herman is a licensed associate clinician and also a 7-year professional firefighter. He trains new firefighters in mental health awareness, and he also set up a peer counseling group in the Englewood Fire Department. We were joined as well by Chief Kaplan and also Captain Tammy Mintz. It was really wonderful to hear the attention in the fire department to mental health. I want to, of course, thank our first responders for everything they do to keep us safe in the city. And finally, I'd like to wish everyone a wonderful and holiday season. I look forward to seeing everybody back after the new year.
Thank you, Lisa. Kevin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, giving honor to God. Without him, this wouldn't be possible for me. And honoring the community. This is the end of my first year. I couldn't have got through what I got through with some of the mentorship that I received. And that's invaluable for the community that continues to pour out and to reach out to me for not only just complaints, but with solutions. And sometimes solutions are slow to come, but be assured that I'm in prayer and constant work on solutions. I would pray that everyone has a happy and safe holiday, and just remember that the blessing is truly in the blessing. So what that means is if you have the opportunity to bless someone else, you should consider it your duty to bless someone less fortunate than you. And one of the people that are organizations of the NAACP that are taking the reins on that is the Angel Tree. So kudos to you guys for what you do. It's not easy. Just because you're a blessing, I'm not saying that it's going to be easy. The Bergen Family Center, I don't know what to say, but thank you for stepping in, helping the city in a crucial time, helping parents that were in despair of what to do with their young. So anyone that helps elderly and seniors has a special place in my heart. So thank you to you guys. And I think it's important, not just during this season, but if you see something, say something. A lot of people go home or come home from work and they go, oh my God, the garbage, oh, the recycle, oh, the leaves. And you don't say anything. You don't reach out, and you get annoyed, and then you come here and you explode. I get it. But we're supposed to be here for you. So if in fact that you do have a problem, reach out. I was able to help and help mitigate, and I reached out to my constituent, to Dr. Lisa, And she jumped right on it. And for that, I appreciate your help in getting back to me and getting back to the residents. That's important that we work together. The holiday seasons are special for a lot of people, for newborns, for families, for relationships. And then you have the ones that not so much because their loved ones or our loved ones are no longer with us. So with that in mind, I would like to extend a special holiday to the Placide family. My heart goes out to you guys. You're missing a loved one during these precious times. So I'm continuously in prayer and that we will have some type of resolution in 2024. I can't say enough about our heroes and sheroes throughout the city that work tirelessly, whether it's up here, the people on the dais, or the people that print out these reports, and the people that are working behind the scenes that appears to be a thankless job. So I consider you guys heroes and sheroes because you don't have to do it. And those that don't want to put on the cape, there's probably another town that would accept you, but we want to have people that are willing to put on the cape, get their hands dirty, do what needs to be done. We do have a police test coming up. Stay tuned. It's posted. I believe that if in fact that we want a better town, we have to promote for better candidates. And what better way than to promote within our own town? So thank you. I appreciate your support throughout this year. Hopefully I can grow with your continuing support and phone calls. So be safe, be aware of your surroundings. Have a good night.
Thank you, Kevin. Well, once again, I'll keep this very short. The DPW turned up this morning on West Hudson Avenue and Valley View Road to work on a partial flooding situation. That was terrific. It was very impressive. They closed down the street, they pumped out the water, and it was just a very well done job. I did attend the Hometown Heroes event, which was wonderful. I am a big believer in awarding and recognizing people that do great things for their towns. And the people on the stage represented towns throughout Bergen County, and they all were just, they were just terrific people. All ages, all sizes, all colors. They were just great people, and it's nice to see that come into the sunlight more, because there were a lot of amazing people, and in Englewood especially, in my experience, who care so much about this town and do so many good things. My last word, I really would hope the council would, next year, which is hard to believe, but next year will form an advisory committee to talk about developing city-owned property into parks and gardens throughout the whole city, not just one area. We own these properties, they're city-owned, they're just doing nothing right now. Some of them are flood-prone. This would be a gift to the city, from the city, and I would hope we could form a committee. I would love to work on a project like that, since I'm going to have some free time now. And I thank all of the people that were just wonderful to me during these last 3 years. And I just hope a lot of us during this particular season focus on all the wonderful things we have. You know, you come to these meetings and there's a lot of anger, and instead of that, for a couple of weeks, focus on all the wonderful things and the wonderful people we're surrounded with. Anyway, thank you all. And Robert Hoffman.
Thank you, Council President, and good evening, everyone. A late good evening. I'm pleased to report that the city is scheduled to purchase 47 Brook Avenue on Thursday, December 21st. This is the property that's part of the city's long-term flood mitigation program. And then just looking back during the weekend of Saturday, December 9th, and Sunday, December 10th, the city experienced significant rainfall and there was no flooding. Then on Sunday afternoon, December 17th, into yesterday, Monday, December 18th, the city had another significant storm. We actually had 3.41 inches of rain in a short period of time. And we experienced some minor flooding on roads, and we had some other issues, but such as Forest Avenue on both sides of the railroad tracks were flooded. But the Overpeck Creek was running smooth and was able to accept most of the water that was draining into that area. So the DPW and our engineering department, they're doing an assessment of the areas where we had flooding and where water was ponding, and we're going to look to see what we can do in the future to help mitigate that. But both of these storms would have caused significant damage and flooding if the DPW for the past year or a little longer had not removed obstructions from the streams as well as from culverts. And the council has said it, but I want to say kudos to the DPW for their continuing efforts. And I also wanted to say thanks to the fire department and our police department, because they were hopping on Sunday and into Monday just with efforts to help keep our residents safe and to to answer alarms. Once again, the city has loaned, the county has loaned the city a long-arm excavator so that we can continue to remove debris from the Overpeck Creek. We will continue to move north on that. We're going to have to wait for the water to go down, but the long-arm excavator has been delivered, and we intend to use it again to help reduce flooding exposure. The 2024 calendars will be mailed out tomorrow, Wednesday, December 20th. So this is 2 weeks earlier than last year, and I want to thank Vanetta and Catherine, Norma, Edroy, and Ray Romney for their work on this project over the past few months. So look for those calendars, and there'll also be some in City Hall if you would like to get some. The fire department's new ladder truck left Wisconsin this morning and should be delivered to New Jersey later this week, where it'll be fitted out and tested, and we're looking forward to having the ladder truck being delivered to Inglewood so that it can be placed in service. And that was one of the bills on the bills list, that $1.3 million bill. So we'll have the check in the safe for when the truck is delivered. Also, there's a high water rescue truck that will soon be delivered to the city, and this will be used by the fire department, the police department, the Office of Emergency Management, and the DPW during storms such as we've had over the last 2 weekends. You heard a little bit from our engineer just about Chestnut Street, and Franz reported that FEMA's informed the city that they are willing to accept some of the they're willing to accept Chestnut Street as part of the IDA project, which is very, very good. It's very significant. So once we have more details, we'll be able to report it. But that just means that we anticipate some money coming from FEMA to help us repair this street. And the police department has been participating in a pilot program called Arrive Together. And this is a pilot program where mental health professionals are available 24 hours a day or 24 hours during the week to assist the police department with mental health calls. The program started a few weeks ago with 16 hours, and then it's been very successful, and it's up to 24 hours, and it's provided invaluable assistance to our residents that are in need of some social services and mental health services. The police department recently started their Walking on Palisades Avenue. So from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., you'll see 2 officers that are walking Palisades Avenue. Tonight, officers Donegan and Gallego were out walking the avenue, so it was nice to see them there. It was nice to see them interacting with residents and shoppers, and we look forward to seeing that again during the holiday season. And then, Council President, I just want to thank you for your service to Inglewood, and I want to wish you the best of success, and I want to wish everybody a very happy holiday, and enjoy your families and enjoy your friends. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll open up the public session. Anyone that would like to... Sorry about that. I'm opening up the public session, the mic. Anyone who has something to say, please come up. Your comments, your criticism. You have 3 minutes, so we need your name and your address.
Rick Wilby, 289 Plantation Way. The scripture tells us that the love of money is the root of all evil. And we need to understand that we live in a world right now that people are being motivated by money to do pure evil. It is also given for man to die. All right? Nobody's going to leave this place alive. I've been working with the Bernard Placide family now for a little bit over a year. And, my heart always grieves for Merlene and her family. But my heart also grieves for all those mothers over there in Gaza and in the occupied territory that are being indiscriminately killed by a racist occupation of Zionists that want to tell the whole world that they have the right. Once upon a time, the Pilgrims thought they had the right. The Nazis thought they had the right. The Ku Klux Klan thought they had the right. We live in a very inhumane world where people continue to look at the suffering of others and say that that doesn't affect us. Where is the humanity? I need to know. I attended a school board meeting in Teaneck, and it made me really understand Inglewood and how people in Inglewood actually do what they're supposed to do to make sure that our First Amendment rights are protected. The Zionists keep on telling me to read a book. I read a few books. And the more books I read, the more it indicts your ideology. I know about Zev Jabotinsky. I know about Theodore Herzl. I know about the Zionist Project. I know about the Balfour Declaration. I know about so many things that if you read a book, the worst advice that a Zionist could give anybody is to tell them to go read a book or even go research international law. Then you'll find out that what's going on is just white supremacy 101. If the Jews that belong to that land were black, nobody would be getting killed. America would not be sending billions of dollars to kill anybody. But it's to preserve white supremacy. The baton has been passed on from one white supremacist to another white supremacist. This is all that's going on. And Islamophobia is on the rise, everything else is on the rise, and all people could do is talk about anti-Semitism. I'm black. People call me a nigger all the time. It doesn't affect me. People tell me things all the time. When Donald Trump ran, they said, make America great again. Think about what the white supremacists are saying to you. I didn't think they were calling for my extinction or trying to kill me because they want to make America great again. So when they say Palestine from the river to the sea, you got to understand that there was refugees that came from Europe that actually said that the state of Palestine had the right to be free from the river to the sea. So no matter what you want to change it to, it will and always will be that. And one thing everybody needs to understand is that you could always kill a revolutionary, but you cannot kill a revolution. All over this world we see where people of good faith are waking up to their humanity and saying, not in our names, not now, not ever.
Thank you.
My name is Greg Wynn, Inglewood resident. I'd like to thank, the whole panel. You guys come in with great intentions, and it's about, working together. I've had some experience with many of you this year, and it has worked out, pretty well for me. I wish the policies that are going to be put in place, I really wish you good luck with that. From my understanding, some of it is union-based, and some people on the rec department area is probably not union-based. But if it could work in that type of framework, and having people have warnings and, policies to be met, and, everything to be expected, it should go well. I've stepped, in the space of different offices, along this journey when I have represented a small community, which is our youths. I come from a place where I represent a small group of people that grow up, which will be our next generation. It's been pretty, good for me. But I'd like to say that, I really appreciated you guys, working with me up at this point. Moving forward, I think that on the level where I'm working with, there should be appointed certain czars to help to build these programs, because myself, that I do these things, in my spare time. I know that I have helped, built, and embedded trust in a community with parents for their young kids. So I'm putting the gauntlet out there for you guys to help make a change, because I know that I can help that level. Thank you.
Thank you.
Merly Lawrence. I'm here tonight to talk about HR, the way they put policy right now. And then when I was listening to her, I was saying to myself, I wish you have that before. It seemed like we didn't have a policy in place when something happens, especially in the police department, because I thought if you have that before, when that happened to my son, the policy will be in place to do what you're supposed to do for the 3 police officers who killed my son. I wish all of you to do the right thing when come to that situation. I don't want that to happen to anyone, any mother in Englewood, because still that affect me in different ways. After that happened, my life changed, my family changed, everything changed. You don't know what I'm going through every day. That's mean I hope all of you take responsibility for your job. And I was reading as a counsel, what are your responsibility? I think for me, you didn't do the right thing for me. All of you should talk, should put action behind when that happened to my son. I know Wilson went to several occasions. I know you've been there, but not all of you come to me and talk to me. You are father, you are mothers. None of you come to me. I know it's your responsibility, but as a human being, I don't see that from you guys. I wish you do the best for the 2024, and I wish to happen to anyone in Englewood. And I always said that all of you don't treat me good, and I feel it, and you make me feel that. But I know I have God, and that's helped me through my situation. But the policy you're going to put on have to be respect, and have to be in the police department. And I wish you do the best, guys, for 2024, and then make Englewood. I remember when I used to live in New York. I went online. I checked for place to live. I checked Englewood. I was so happy to come in Englewood. I said, that's the place I want to live. I was so happy. You can imagine when I went online and looked for a place and I choose Englewood. See what happened to me to Englewood. I was so happy to come here with my kids to learn. But I have a good time with you guys. That you can change that for other family. I wish that policy can help other people in Englewood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The attorney from Leonia. I got.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
You can, yeah.
Yes.
I am with a friend of Bernard Placide and his family, and this is the season of peace on earth and goodwill toward men. But unfortunately, there has been no peace for the Placide family since, as Marlene has just said, and all of you are very hardworking and very concerned about this community, and it's clear that there's care, but there is no action, as Marlene was saying. It's one thing to have peace, but there has to be justice in order to have peace. And it's been a year and almost 4 months since Bernard was killed by Luann Sharp. And to this date, nothing has changed. And hopefully, as you're saying, there's going to be police officers that will come into the force that will be from Englewood and will be able to really be part of the community in a very different way. But right now, there has been no justice for Bernard and his family. His mother has no peace. Neither does the family. So what would be justice for Bernard? Luann Sharp has to be accountable, and she has to lose her position as an officer in the Englewood Police Department. And it would seem that Englewood would take a strong stand in supporting, even though you can't vote on it, but to support the CCRB with subpoena power, because there has to be civilian oversight of police all over the state of New Jersey. And that would be the beginning of justice. And Arrive Together is a very important program. However, it must be implemented. It has not been implemented effectively. It wasn't in Patterson with Najee Seabrooks, and it wasn't in Jersey City with Andrew Washington. So here, there needs to be oversight to assure that Arrive Together will actually work with the police and make certain that there's oversight in police activity. Thank you for your hard work, and we hope that there will be peace and justice for Bernard Plessy.
Thank you very much.
Leroy Campbell, Tenafly Road. I guess my question is for Bob Hoffman, because I saw your letter where you placed Merle Simon on administrative leave. That's kind of puzzling to the public, especially to this mother who lost a son. Merle get placed on administrative leave with pay, but Luna Sharp is still working with a promotion. The public, the citizens of Englewood is trying to understand that, and somebody needs to give them some answers. Give us some answers, because it's appalling. How do you, I mean, do we have rules for white people? Do we have rules for brown people? Do we have rules for black people? And are these rules different? Are they the same? Because with this action, it doesn't seem like it's the same for everybody across the board. So we're trying to understand, how can one person who didn't kill anybody get placed on administrative leave, and another person who took a life, a human life, gets promoted? The public is trying to understand that, and somebody needs to give us some answers.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the council. Happy holidays to everyone. As I sit here, I'm just listening to loss after loss after loss. It's very troubling. Most of the families that look like me in Englewood, they're not here. They should be. When I think about the loss, Bernard, the young mother whose child was violated, the young lady back last year who was violated, most of them look like me. So it's very hurtful and it's very troubling. Most of them don't know how to get up here and articulate their thoughts, or they're too upset. They don't know how to say. Not only do we need transparency, we need action. I sat here and I listened to your Director of Human Resources. She started in February of 2023. This problem did not start February 2023. This is a long-standing issue in the city of Englewood. The city, whether you have union or non-union employees, is a business. There has to be accountability. If you work in a place, you get a verbal, you get in written, you get a final written, and then you get review for termination. That's holding people accountable. Not letting things go on for years and years and years, or seeing an item on your docket at a meeting and say, oh, why are we paying $20,000? When I had to write our councilman at large back in September because 200 kids are using disgusting porta potties that are overflowing. But we have $20,000 to give to science and math and STEM, and then we're also paying an after-school teacher $2,000. This is troubling. And once I saw all the things that were going on in the city of Inglewood, I said, I'm going to make it my business as a resident, because I have a young child that looks just like me that attends school here in the city of Inglewood. He uses the recreation services here in the city of Inglewood. We have to do better. Our children are our future. We can't worry about what's happened. Going forward, 2024, we all have to look at ourselves and be held accountable. So I'm holding myself accountable by making sure that I can make every meeting possible so I can come here and stand here and speak to my council members and my local government to know that you guys will have to be held accountable for what's going on here in the city. The parents want answers. Administrative leave, unacceptable. This is not the first situation with Ms. Simons. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ma'am, your name, please? The clerk asked for your name.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going, unless there's someone who hasn't come up yet. Okay, I'm going to close the general session now. I believe that is the end of our meeting. Can I have a motion to close our meeting?
I move to adjourn.
Second? Second. Okay, meeting adjourned. All in favor?
Happy holidays.
Enjoy, be safe.
Everybody in favor of closing, adjourning? Yes, they all said yes. Ow. Yeah, no, my knee just.